Act 1 of A Little Bit of Fluff by Walter W. Ellis. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Characters:
John Ayres, read by Thomas Peter.
Bertram Tolley, his friend, read by Campbell Shelp.
Nixon Trippett, Inspector of Claims for the Motor Bus Company, read by Chuck Williamson.
Dr. Bigland, also for the Motor Bus Company, read by Todd.
Pamela, Mrs. John Ayres, read by Emma Hatton.
Mammy Scott, from the 500 Club, read by T.J. Burns.
Aunt Hannah, Mr. Tully's aunt, read by Abai.
Ursula, Mr. Tolley's maid, read by Alicia Messiah.
Chalmers, Mrs. Ayres' maid, read by Eva Davis.
Set directions, read by Elizabeth Holland. A Little Bit of Fluff, Act 1. Scene: John Ayres' flat in Bayswater. The scene represents a room in the well-to-do flat of Mr. John Ayres in the district of Bayswater. A door to the right leads into the bedroom, and another door left leads to the hall and street. There are 2 French windows at the back with balconies beyond. A fireplace right above door. Mirror on mantelpiece. Easy chair right. Table upright center above door with a pot of marguerites upon it. A writing desk up left center with telephone. A fancy table down left with papers on it. Telegraph boy knock and ring heard off left. Chalmers, a maid, enters at left with 1 telegram on salver and, crossing, meets Pamela Center, who is entered by door right. Pamela is a smart woman of 35, handsome and beautifully gowned.
What is it, Chalmers?
Seeing telegram.
Oh!
Telegram, madam.
Thank you.
Opens and reads. Gives vent to a sigh of satisfaction.
Ha!
She thinks. Exit Chalmers left. Telegraph boys knock and ring again off left. Chalmers enters with second telegram.
What's that?
Chalmers, still holding salver.
Another one, madam.
Oh.
Reads again.
Yes, all right.
Chalmers is going.
Oh, Chalmers, I'm expecting 3 more.
Telegrams, madam?
Yes, bring them to me directly they arrive.
Very good, madam.
Exits left. Pamela glances again at telegrams, and then going up, places them carefully on table right center. Door slam is heard off left. Pamela surveys the room quickly and, noticing her hat on table down left, crosses over and conceals it with papers, runs up to window left center, and withdraws behind the window curtains. John Ayres enters door left. He looks very smart in evening dress with coat and crush hat. He yawns and gazes sleepily around, then crosses to armchair, humming a tune and taking off coat, which he places over back of armchair, goes to mantelpiece over fireplace, and looks in mirror.
What a face!
Pulls himself together, takes face from mantelpiece, places against his forehead, and exits down right, slams the door after him. Pamela comes from hiding place and listens at door right, then picks up John's coat, comes center, and searches the inside pocket, takes out letters but finds nothing incriminating, puts them back again. She pulls the sleeves of the coat out and sniffs twice, and a long whole length of sleeve, then pulls necklace out of side pocket.
Oh!
She replaces necklace and puts coat on back of chair, left of table right. Coming to door right, she taps loudly on it. John, heard off irritably.
What is it?
Pamela repeats the knocking, then crosses to center. John is obviously changing his clothes and enters just with morning trousers and braces showing.
What is it? What the devil? Oh, it's you, Pam. I didn't know you were home. Haven't you been to Folkestone?
Of course I have. Mother wasn't well, so we came back yesterday.
Yesterday? Oh.
Strolls off right to get his waistcoat and jacket. Heard off.
Did you sleep at At Mother's last night?
Pamela does not answer, but is apparently annoyed. Re-enter John, buttoning waistcoat.
I say, I suppose you slept at your mother's last night.
Where did you sleep?
Where did I sleep?
I'm asking you.
What a funny question to ask anyone. I slept at home. In there, of course. Obviously. Naturally.
Whenever you adopt that innocent attitude, I always know you are telling me a willful lie.
I couldn't tell you a lie if I tried. Do you remember that phrenologist we went to at Eastbourne? He told me I had an enormous bump of veracity.
This has nothing to do with phrenology. I am to believe that you slept at home last night?
Yes, of course. Why?
I slept at home too. Strange, we didn't meet.
Yes, that is funny.
I locked that bedroom door from 11:30 last night until 9 o'clock this morning.
Well, if you lock the bedroom door, how can you possibly expect me to sleep at home? Absurd.
Getting into jacket.
No, I'll tell you the whole facts of the case, Pam. We went to the, opera last night.
We?
Yes, my friend Tully and I. Tully had some tickets given him.
And you came home together?
Yes, and, I slept at Tully's.
What opera did you go to?
John, broad gestures.
That's rather a silly question. No one ever goes to an opera and remembers anything about the performance.
But the name of the opera?
Oh, the name. You mean what the opera was called?
Exactly.
The title?
Yes.
Well, you know the opera where the girl comes on with a sewing machine. No, you know what I mean. A spinning wheel. 2 long plates. Marguerite. Faust, that's it.
Faust?
Yes, Faust. With the devil in it.
Business of putting fingers to forehead.
And so you both went to see Faust?
After that we came home.
Crosses to left, laughing.
I remember making a joke to Tully.
Never mind the joke.
Well, it was just then that I missed my latchkey.
You missed your latchkey?
And it was rather late to rouse Chalmers, so Tully offered me a shakedown at his place, and I stayed there.
There's a good deal of Thule about it, but if you lost your latchkey, how did you get in just now?
John smiling.
Oh, I found the key afterwards.
Well, give it to me.
John hesitates.
Give it to me, please.
John obeys. She goes up to fireplace.
While I pay the rent of the flat.
Oh, don't say that. It isn't cricket, Pam, to throw the rent up in my face. After all, it was you who made me give up my office in the city.
For the simplest reason you were making.
I was making a profit of £5 a week.
And it was costing me another £15 to keep the office open.
Coming down to John.
Now look here, I have enough for both, so long as you do not work in the city.
Well, I can't grub along on £5 a week like some people.
Must I remind you that I have been allowing you £40 a month?
No. Excuse me, dear. It was agreed between us that my allowance should be £15 only.
Telegraph knock and ring off left.
I'm quite aware it was agreed, but you kept borrowing on account. Even now you are 2 years ahead with your money.
As much as that?
2 years.
How time flies. But I shall pay it back.
But let us keep to the point.
Chalmers enters with 3 telegrams on salver.
About last night.
For me?
No, sir, for the mistress.
Oh, Chalmers.
Reading telegrams.
Will you just knock at the flat next door and ask if Mr. Thule is at home? And if so, will he kindly look in here for a moment?
Chalmers going.
Very good, madam.
Chalmers.
Beckoning Chalmers to stop. To Pamela.
You dare not do such a thing.
Pamela to Chalmers.
Do as I tell you, Chalmers.
Exit Chalmers. John, as Chalmers is going off.
Chalmers! Cha!
Turns to Pamela.
You are not going to show me up before my friends.
There will be no showing up, John, if what you say is true.
Moves up to table right center.
No, of course not.
Moves to telephone.
Besides, I don't suppose your friend Tooley would give you away anyway. Men are such cunning brutes.
John with a burst which he checks instantly. Pamela looks round, then goes on reading telegram. At back, John whispering into telephone.
Give me Regent 346. Regent 346.
Pamela without turning.
It's no use your phoning Mr. Tooley. I should be bound to hear what you said.
I was only trying to get him to come up, dear.
Chalmers is quite capable of taking a message.
John rising and crossing to Pamela.
Hang it all, Pam. Don't you believe what I've told you?
Pamela turning sharply to John.
Not one word.
Why not?
This morning I sent a reply-paid wire to your friends at Kew.
Harry Cromley?
Yes, asking if you stopped there last night. This is his reply.
Hands wire.
Read it out, please.
John takes wire gingerly. Reads.
Yes, John stayed here last night.
Aside.
Silly owl.
Well?
Dear old Harry. I expect he thought you would be worrying about me. He's very thoughtful, is Harry.
Gives wire back.
Wait, I also sent a wire to your friend Blackiston at Kensington, asking the same question. His reply.
Handing second wire to John. John amazed.
Read it. Read that out, please.
John takes wire. Reads.
Yes, John stayed here last night.
Pauses.
Well, now, I can tell how this happened.
Gives back wire.
Wait, don't commit yourself. I sent 3 other wires to Mr. Marshall, Gus Stanhope, and Drayling. They all reply that you stayed with them. Read for yourself.
Hands wires to John, which he does not take.
I can explain it all, dear. You see, they were probably all together, and they thought they would put a spoof up on dear old John. They're all jolly good friends.
Yes, they must all be very, very good friends, or else they must have a shocking opinion of your habits.
I can explain everything.
I believe you could explain the Tower of London away, but you can't have slept in 6 different beds in one night, unless you were a sleepwalker.
I still maintain that I slept last night at Tully's.
We shall see.
Places telegrams on table right center. Enter Chalmers.
Mr. Tooley, madam.
Holds door open until Tully is on, then exits, closing the door. Tully is rather a spare man, with drooping mustache, and rather sanctimonious and miserable looking. He enters and stands just above the small table down left, nervously twisting his hands. On Tully's entrance, John makes a dive for Tully.
I say, Tully, didn't I?
Pamela catches John by right arm and pulls him down right. Advances to Tully.
How do you do, Mr. Tooley?
Shakes hands.
How do you do, Mrs. Ayers? Morning, John.
Morning, Tully.
Good morning.
Ah, you see he wasn't up when I left this morning, lazy beggar.
Pamela, center to Tully.
I have to apologize, Mr. Tooley, for bringing you out.
Oh, not at all.
But John and I are in a little difficulty, and if you could see your way to answer a few questions, it would be doing us a great favor, and it might save both of us lifelong misery.
My wife won't believe that I...
Will you be quiet? You're breaking down the one slender thread that holds our married life together. I want Mr. Tooley's version of last night without your assistance.
Turning to Tully.
Now, may I ask, did you have anyone staying with you last night at the flat?
Tully shaking his head.
No, not to my knowledge.
John is pointing to himself frantically.
No one stayed at your place at all?
Tully seeing John. With a gulp.
John stayed there.
Pamela turns quickly, almost catches John pointing to himself. John makes a dive for book on table right center and turns pages over quickly. Pamela turns again to Tully.
But just now you said no one stayed there.
We never count John as anyone.
John rubs hands with glee.
No, dear, I'm nobody.
Pamela gives John a freezing look, then again to Tully.
Now, would you mind telling me how you passed the evening?
Last night?
Looking at John.
Last night.
Well, let me think. Yes.
John points to window.
We went out.
And where did you go, might I ask?
John is gesticulating with one hand on his chest and open-mouthed as in opera. Tully, failing to interpret John's signals.
It's rather difficult to remember offhand. One night is so very much like another.
Try to think.
John still gesticulating and open-mouthed.
I think we must have been in a boat on the Serpentine.
Pamela turns quickly. John goes up to table right center and smells marguerites. Tully very embarrassed.
These are very beautiful flowers, dear. Did these come from Covent Garden?
Please don't interrupt.
Oh, now I remember. It's about last night you wanted to know.
Last night?
Oh, last night we went to Covent, to the opera.
John nods and smiles at Tully.
John had tickets given to him.
John, annoyed.
No, those tickets were given me to give to you. They were a present from Mr. Baxter.
Oh, I didn't quite understand. I must write and thank Mr. Baxter.
Baxter!
Baxter.
Who is Mr. Baxter?
Don't you know, dear?
Do you?
Of course, he's Mr. Baxter.
Pamela to Tully.
And did you enjoy the opera?
Not very much. I really prefer the singing down at our chapel.
What opera was it?
I don't think I noticed.
Didn't notice?
Of course not, dear. No decent person ever does. It's bad form.
Silence!
To Tully.
Haven't you any idea of the name of the opera?
Not for the moment.
John points to pot of marguerites.
Daisy Daydreams?
I can't say I have ever heard of an opera of the name of Daisy Daydreams.
John is now holding a plate made from his handkerchief to the back of his head. Tully, watching John.
Was it something to do with, something hanging from the back of the head?
And you can't remember the name of the opera?
Not for the moment.
John points to marguerites again.
Are you sure it wasn't Daisy or Daisies or Margaret?
John nods his head.
Margaret, Faust, of course.
Yes, dear, Faust, of course.
Pamela turns quickly to John. John just as quickly turns his back.
Now, are you satisfied?
And after you left the opera?
To Tully.
We came home.
What induced John to sleep at your place, seeing your door is next to ours?
John signaling key and door, and then lost.
Oh, he couldn't find his keyhole.
Pamela turns quickly, round to John.
No, dear. We simply went to the opera and saw Faust, came out, had a drink. I told Tully I couldn't find my key. I suppose he thought I said keyhole. He offered me a shakedown, and I stayed there. And I think such a clear explanation ought to satisfy anyone.
Yes, I suppose so.
John, going to fireplace.
Then everything is quite in order?
Very satisfied. Tully sighs. Pamela, doubtfully.
Yes, except...
Picking up John's coat with left hand.
Could either of you explain this?
John, coming down to Pamela.
That's my coat.
No.
Taking necklace from pocket with right hand and holding it up.
This!
Pause. John and Tully both amazed.
Oh, that's nothing to do with me.
What is it, dear? What is it?
A pearl necklace.
Turning to Tully.
I suppose you don't wear pearl necklaces, do you, Mr. Tooley?
No, no.
I can tell you all about that, dear. I saw that in a shop window, and I picked it up very cheaply. I'm sure it's a bargain.
And who was it intended for, may I ask?
Who should I buy pearl necklaces for?
For me! For me, I suppose!
Boiling with rage, and throwing coat up to settee, center.
Of course, naturally. Ask Tully.
Tully goes to chair by telephone, left center. Stands perfectly still, unnerved. John below table right center stands blinking and looking into space. Pamela goes to table down left, uncovers her hat, picks it up, goes toward door right as she passes John.
Oh!
Goes to door right, opens door.
Oh!
Exits door right, bangs door after her. Tully, flopping into chair he is standing by.
Oh, I'm all of a tremble.
John crosses up to settee, puts coat on settee, then up to Tully.
You're a boiled-headed owl.
If you had told me yesterday that you could lie like that, I should never have believed you.
John, coming down right.
You did your share very well.
What's going to happen now?
She'll probably pack up and go home to her mother's.
Tully, rising and crossing to John.
John, where did you go last night?
I took a little friend out to dinner, and then we went out to the palace. And after that we had supper at the 500 Club. We watched them dancing and had a dance or two ourselves. But it's perfectly absurd if a man can't have a little innocent enjoyment and a couple of dances with a little bit of fluff without all this absurd fuss.
But the hour.
At the club we kept it up a bit late, that's all. We had breakfast at Jimmy Dawson's flat and cooked bacon and eggs.
Won't you promise never to do such a thing again?
John, crossing to left.
I'll promise never to poach an egg in an opera hat again. I can't possibly live without some relaxation now and then.
But must you really go out and about with little bits of fluff?
Most certainly, if I want to. What have you got to say to that?
Oh, dear, dear, dear.
Everything would have been all right, only you were so infernally stupid about the opera. I'm sure Marguerite and Plates was perfectly clear. If you had only said Faust without any hesitation, everything would have been all right.
But it's so risky. They play a different opera every night at Covent Garden.
I know they do. I wonder what they did play. Where's the newspaper?
Looking round for paper. Seeing paper on table right, below door. Crosses over, gets paper.
Here it is.
Crosses to Tully.
Now, if my luck's in, they played Faust.
Both look at paper together.
Last night. Here we are. Theaters. Last night. Covent Garden. Pictures.
John tears the paper in two. Gives half to Tully.
Here, tear that up.
Handing other half.
And this bit too. Get rid of it somehow.
Tully tears paper in pieces and puts bits in handkerchief pocket. John crosses to door right.
How do you think you will get out of this?
John, crossing center.
Quite easily. Tact and diplomacy.
Offering his head to Tully.
Feel that bump. They say I have a bigger bump of tact than Lloyd George.
Tully, feeling head.
Oh, I say.
Both stand to attention as Pamela re-enters right, wearing a hat and carrying a small suitcase. The pearl necklace is also in her hand. She crosses over to door right, not looking at either of the men, and dabbing her face with a handkerchief as if crying. She stops as John speaks.
Pam.
Pamela, coming down to table left and placing suitcase on table.
I am going home to Mother's. You'll hear from her later. And probably the solicitors.
Well, Pam, I think you're awfully silly. And after I've bought you a pearl necklace, too.
I doubt very much if the necklace was intended for me.
Oh, Tully, did you hear that? The only woman in the world I have ever loved.
Sinking into chair left of table right center. Tully, who has been standing watching very nervously by table with telephone left center, crosses to Pamela.
I don't think you ought to say such things, Mrs. Ayers.
Pamela shrugs shoulders and turns back on him. He crosses to John.
Do leave us for a few moments, John.
But Tully,
I'll put it all right.
But Tully,
John is persuaded to go off right by Tully. John exits muttering. Tully shuts door. Tully, crossing to Pamela.
One moment, Mrs. Ayers, I feel somehow that I am to blame for all of this. I don't want to pose as a hyper-religious man, but everyone says I'm very good and I wouldn't deceive you for the world. I'm sure that necklace was intended for you.
Pamela, opening suitcase.
Well, in any case, I value my feelings at something more than a 1 in 11 penny pearl necklace.
Drops necklace into case and shuts it.
Really, I think you are doing John an injustice. I don't think you quite understand his little ways.
I understand as much as is fit for me to understand.
No, really, I know John doesn't behave in a conventional manner as a rule, but he is quite harmless.
Pamela, raging, up to Tully, then crossing down right.
Harmless! Harmless! A man who can sleep in 6 different beds in one night! Harmless!
Throwing arms up on last harmless.
6 impossible! It would be a record.
Pamela, up to table right center, picks up bundle of telegrams, hands them to Tully.
Read for yourself.
John stayed here, Q. John stayed here, Bloomsbury. John stayed, Barnes. Kensington, Bloomsbury to Q. Q to Kensington. Kensington to Barnes. It couldn't be done in the time. Oh, I can quite understand this. It's all John's friends, all anxious to shield him from the fury of his wife.
I beg your pardon.
Snatches telegrams from Tully.
I mean, all anxious to shield him from your displeasure. John has such a host of good friends. There isn't one who wouldn't lay down his life for him. Why, John's one of the best in the world.
Pamela, crossing to left by table down left.
I am quite a broad-minded woman, Mr. Tooley. I don't expect men to be angels, but there is a limit to everything.
Tully, crossing to Pamela.
I quite agree with you in that, Mrs. Ayers, but as a broad-minded woman, you must see that a man like John wants a little relaxation. And there's really no harm if he does go out to dinner occasionally with, what was it he called them? Little bits of fluff.
What? What?
Tully recoils. Pamela follows him up to center.
You expect me to sit at home while my husband goes out with little bits of fluff?
Tully pulls out handkerchief with pieces of paper.
Well, it's a term, a joke.
Tries to conceal pieces of paper with his feet.
I'm surprised, Mr. Tooley, that your mission teaching should have put such ideas into your head.
Crossing to table, picking up case.
As little bits of fluff. Good day.
Exit Pamela down left, banging door behind her. The front door is then heard to slam. Tully stands looking into space for a time, then proceeds to pick up torn paper. John, cautiously peeping in door right.
What are you doing?
Sweeping up Covent Garden.
John, crossing to right center.
Has she gone?
Yes. I'm so sorry, John.
John, crosses to Tully.
That's all through your meddling in things that don't concern you.
Did you really sleep in 6 different beds?
Oh, don't be silly.
Is there any chance of her returning?
Of course she'll come back. She does this sort of thing about every fortnight.
Do you sleep out as often as that?
No. She does it with the idea that I shall go and fetch her back.
Well, why don't you?
Because once I do that, my authority will be gone. She'll treat me like a child and leave home 2 or 3 times a day. Things have never gone so badly as this before.
I think the pearl necklace did it, don't you?
John, suddenly aroused.
Ha, the necklace. Where is it? Where is it? Have you got it?
No. Why should I have it?
Then where is it? Where is it? The necklace.
Looks about wildly for the necklace.
Look for it. Don't stand there like an anemic camel. Look for it.
Tully, jumping about in a silly fashion.
Where?
Everywhere. All over the place. Perhaps it's on the floor. Look for it.
Both look about for the necklace.
Ah, and maybe under the table.
They both dive under the table from opposite ends. Their heads collide. They both come up holding their heads in pain.
Can't you see where you are going?
I can only see stars.
Your head's like iron. But where's the necklace?
Moving armchair from right of table, right center to below table about 3 feet.
That's the question.
I've got it.
Where?
No, not the necklace. I've got an idea.
Oh.
I expect Mrs. Ayers took it. You practically gave it to her, didn't you?
You think she took it?
Yes, I remember now. While I was talking to her just now, I saw her drop it into her bag.
Are you sure?
Crossing to left.
Doesn't matter. You can get it back from her.
John, still looking about for necklace.
She'll never part with it. She loves jewelry.
Well, you can easily buy another.
Putting hand in pocket.
I'll lend you the 1 and 11 pence.
1 and 11 pence? 1 and 11 pence? Do you know that necklace is worth £500?
500 pounds?
Yes. It was lent to little Mammy Scott by the Rajah of Jangpur. She took a fancy to the necklace, and he lent it to her to wear just for the evening. There was a big crush as we came out of the club last night, and Mammy asked me to put the necklace in my pocket for safety's sake, as the clasp was broken, which I did, of course. Apparently we both forgot all about it. She'll be in an awful stew. She promised faithfully to return the necklace to the Rajah today.
Oh, dear, dear, dear.
Oh, damn, damn, damn. What can I do? What can I say? What will Mammy think of me?
Tully is twiddling the chair right center about.
Oh, don't foodle about with that chair.
Tully stops footling.
Is there no way of getting it back from Mrs. Ayers?
I tell you, she'll never part with it, and she may not be home for several days, possibly a week. In the meantime, the Rajah will be clamoring for his pearls. I shall be branded as well, there's no telling what it may lead to. Great heavens, what a hole to be in.
Crossing to chair left, downstage.
Couldn't you tell Miss Fluffy Scott you've lost it and buy her another?
Didn't you hear me say that necklace cost £500?
Tully, twirling chair round on one leg.
Yes, that is awkward.
Oh, do put that chair down.
Advancing to Tully. Tully sits center.
Couldn't you borrow the money?
John, crossing, sits down left.
Don't be a fool.
It's easy enough. I had a letter from someone only this morning offering to lend me any sum from £10 to £10,000 without any security. He enclosed his photograph. Such a nice, kind, honest, open face.
You innocent lamb. Well, I suppose if I can't give it back, I shall have to find the money.
You will? Oh, it is a fix.
Biting his nails. John rises, goes up to Tully.
I say, Tully, I suppose you don't happen to have 500 that you don't want?
Not that I don't want.
Poor old Tully. You never seem to have any money. I don't know what you live on. Are you sure you get enough to eat?
You know, John, if I had the money, I couldn't refuse you. You do know that, don't you, John?
John, patting Tully on back.
Of course I do, dear old Tully. Dear old Tully.
Comes down left. Tully, rising.
Why do you always call me by my surname when I call you John? I do wish you'd call me Bertram. You know, when anyone calls me Bertram, I feel I could do any mortal thing in the world for them.
Well, you get me out of this hole, and I'll call you Bertram till I bust.
Sits down left.
Will you? I think I know where you could get the money.
Comes down to John. John, rising suddenly.
Where? Where?
Sit down.
John sits.
Keep calm. Dick Turner thinks the world of you.
Yes, I know, but he hasn't much money.
I know, but he was in a bus accident last Friday, and he's claiming £500 compensation from the motor bus company.
He'll never get it.
Oh, I think he will. In fact, it's nearly settled. And if you approach him in the matter, I feel sure he would lend you the £500.
But I was in that bus with him coming from Q.
That's right, coming from Q.
And if Dick Turner could get 500, I'm positive I could.
Well, I'm sure he's going to get it.
But there was scarcely any damage done. I didn't receive a scratch, neither did Dick Turner. I was thrown forward on top of a fat old woman sitting opposite.
Still, you can't always tell at the time of the accident. Injuries sometimes develop afterwards.
Business of drawing patterns on carpet with foot. John rises and crosses slowly right.
Yes, of course. Especially after you've seen your solicitor.
Don't
talk to me. My brain's working.
You know, John, in all cases of bus accidents, the bus companies have to pay out according to what the doctors think.
The question is to make the doctors think. Why should Dick Turner get 500 and I get nothing?
I suppose he was really injured.
Don't talk. I've got the most wonderful brain.
Hand to forehead.
Have you?
Yes. Feel that bump.
Tully obeys.
Oh, did you get that under the table?
No, silly ass. It's a natural bump.
Excited.
It's all so simple. It's wonderful how I get myself out of every difficulty. Now, will you run down to the doctor's for me?
Going up to telephone.
The last block of flats, you know.
Dr. Green?
John, looking through telephone book for number.
Yes, that's it. Ask him to call at once.
John, you're not going to pretend to the doctor that you are ill.
Now don't ask any questions.
Oh, no, John.
Working fingers along back of armchair.
I couldn't do a thing like that. It's not fair. It's not honest.
Protest in action against the suggestion until John says, Bertram, when a broad smile comes across his face. John, rising and crossing to Tully.
Bertram.
Tully giggles affectedly.
Oh, John.
Crossing to door left.
Oh, John.
Giggles.
Oh, John.
Giggles to loft door left. Quick exit. John goes to telephone at phone.
Give me Regent 1436. Quickly, miss, please. Yes. Hello. Are you the Motor Omnibus Company? Yes. Mrs. John Ayres speaking. Mrs. John Ayres? Yes. My husband was in that terrible bus accident you had last Friday, coming from Kew. Yes, my husband. And he's very ill indeed. Yes? Eh? Oh, speak up. I can't hear a damned word you're saying.
Hand over phone for a second.
Oh, he didn't notice it at the time. He has witnesses to prove everything. Eh, I can't hear. Oh, you'll send your inspector round to look into it. Eh, you'll send your inspector round to look into it. Oh, very good. But don't send him immediately, as the patient is asleep. Eh, yes, in about half an hour's time. We're quite close to your depot. Number 13, St. Mark's Mansions. Yes. Very well. Thank you. Goodbye.
Puts up receiver. He looks round and takes off jacket. Chalmers enters left.
What is it?
A lady to see you, sir.
She smiles.
To see me? What are you laughing at?
Chalmers pulls herself together.
Miss Scott, I think she said.
Good Lord. Oh, I'm busy. Dressing for breakfast. Not at home.
Crossing to door right. Chalmers is going.
Wait. I'd better see her.
Opens door with right hand, holding it open.
Show her in here.
Chalmers in doubt.
In there, sir?
Pointing to door right. John pointing back into room with left hand.
No, here. Here.
Exit down right. Exit Chalmers door left. Chalmers shows in Mamie Scott. She is a girl about 27, petite but pretty, dressed with many furbelows and other fluffy things. She looks around as she enters with a swagger air, sees Chalmers smiling, freezes her with a look. Chalmers straightens herself and goes off door left, with nose in air. Mamie looks round room, humming or singing a tune, places parasol and settee at back, and comes down center. Enter John, undoing collar and tie.
Hello, Jack.
Hello, you dear little thing.
In a playful temper.
But you mustn't come here, really.
Why not? I thought you said the cat was away at Folkestone.
And please don't call my wife a cat.
Exit John into room right. Mamie with an elaborate curtsy.
Oh, I beg the cat's pardon.
Sweeping round room, she sees photograph on table left center.
Say, Jack, whose picture is this?
John spoken off.
Which one?
This one, here, by the telephone.
Oh, that is my wife.
Your wife? Some girl. She's not the sort of first wife I'd pick out if I was going to be your second.
Why not?
Looks too darned healthy. I'd have to wait too long for you.
Enter John, door right.
She's come home unexpectedly.
Mamie jumps in terror and makes a dive for vanity bag she has placed on table left center.
Jack!
Oh, it's all right. She's out just now.
Phew, you did give me a fright.
But it's true. She is home all the same.
Exit into room right.
Well, come out here and talk to me. I won't keep you long.
John spoken off.
I can't. I'm only half dressed.
Well, I'll come in there.
Crossing to door right.
No, this is a bedroom.
I'm not afraid of bedrooms.
Give me a minute. Just a minute.
Come out as you are. I'm not particular.
I won't be 2 ticks.
Righto.
Sits in armchair down right center and commences to powder her face.
I say, Jack, do you know that you didn't give me back the necklace last night?
John enters and creeps off again.
I say, Jacko, do you know you didn't give me back that necklace last night?
The words slightly smothered by using powder puff on mouth. Enter John in dressing gown.
I say, Mammy, that hat does suit you. You look awfully sweet.
You go on, Jack. You're the champion long-distance kidder in the universe.
John crossing to left of Mamie.
But I mean it. It suits you awfully.
Oh, awfully.
Mockingly.
Do you know you didn't give me back the necklace last night? You know, the pearl necklace?
John hesitating.
No, I know I didn't. We both forgot all about it, didn't we?
We did.
Both laugh amusedly, thinking it a great joke.
I left it in my coat, and I left the coat at the club.
Mamie, rising, alarmed.
Jack, it isn't lost.
John, pressing her gently into chair.
Sit down, and don't worry. It can't be lost. If it is, I'll buy you another, that's all.
500 pounds!
Yes, I can't forget that. But it's a mere flea bite to me.
Jack, you don't understand. The Raja looks on it as an heirloom. He wouldn't part with it for the world. That's why I wanted to wear it. It was such a cute idea, but I promised faithfully to return it to the Raja today.
Can't you make some excuse?
How can I? Have you been to the club?
No, I can't possibly go down there for a day or two, for a particular reason.
Oh, I do hope it isn't lost. Can't you phone?
Oh, yes, I did phone, but the club phone seems to be out of order.
That's torn it. What will the Raja think of me?
Now, don't worry. If you'll only wait, everything will be all right. In any case, if it is lost, I'll buy you another exactly like it. I can't say more, can I?
You really mean that?
Of course I do. I never break my word. I'm even going to get some money today. Out of accidents. in case of accidents. Now listen, I'm awfully glad you've called. My wife's left me.
Mamie, rising and throwing arms around John's neck.
Jack, darling.
John, gently but firmly disengaging her arms.
Yes, but only for a little while. And I want you to do me a favor.
Of course I will, Jack.
I'm expecting a man here presently to examine me.
To examine you?
Yes, I'm very ill, you know. I was in a bus accident the other day, and, things have been getting worse.
Poor old Jack. I am sorry.
Pulling his face to her with hand under his chin.
But you don't look ill.
John, turning face again to front.
No, I'm one of those who bear up to the last. Now listen, when this man calls, I want you to pretend that I'm bad. Of course, I am bad, but while he is here, I am sure to be a little worse. Mrs. Ayres, that is me, has been speaking to him on the phone, and naturally when he comes, he'll expect to see me, that is, Mrs. Ayres. I see you don't understand.
Mamie, very sympathetically.
Jack, dear, you haven't injured your head, have you?
No, it's quite all right. Nothing to do, but, don't say you're my wife. Just pat me on the head now and then and moan, "Poor John." You understand?
Yes, I understand. Poor John. But say, this is a spoof. You're not really ill, Jack, are you?
Of course not. Oh, yes, I am, but don't worry, I'm going to get better. Just poor John. Lay it on thick.
I see. Poor John.
Crosses up to mantelpiece, removes hat, and tidies her hair at glass. Tully enters hurriedly, sees Mamie, makes a bolt for door left. John catches him by coat and pulls him back.
It's all right, John.
As he enters. John to Mamie.
Excuse me a moment.
Tully to John.
Dr. Green was out, but they'll send him round directly he comes back. He's out on a case about a poor little woman. Poor little woman.
Whispers in John's ear.
Who?
Then aloud.
Both doing well.
Well, that's more than we can say. Now I must go and finish dressing, or rather undressing.
Sees Mamie.
Oh, let me introduce you to little Mammy Scott.
Tully, alarmed.
Is she fast?
Fast?
Is she a hussy?
You like her immensely. Come on.
Tully, in terror.
No, I couldn't. I've never spoken to anyone like that in my life.
John, taking hold of Tully.
Don't be a fool.
Oh, no. What would they think of me down at the mission? Besides, I wouldn't know what to say to her.
Why not?
I've never met a Fluff.
You do get hold of the most extraordinary expressions.
Calling to Mamie.
Mammy, let me introduce you to a very old chum of mine, Mr. Bertram Tully, Miss Mammy Scott.
John crosses to door right. Mamie crosses over to Tully. Mamie, taking Tully's hand.
Oh, what a beautiful boy.
Pulls a long face.
Talk to him, Mammy. He has a wonderful flow of conversation. I shan't be long.
Exit John, door right. Mamie beckons Tully with head and eyes, and edges down to armchair right. Sits. Tully, very nervous, edges down to chair left. Sits. Tully, playing with bottoms of his trouser legs and trying to make conversation.
Do you ever go? No.
Tries again.
Would you like to, no.
Has another try.
It's wonderful how the fine weather lasts.
Mamie, very amused all the time.
Ripping, isn't it?
Yes, isn't it?
Are you married?
No, I regret to say.
A bit of luck in store for someone.
Oh, thank you.
I expect you have a gay old time.
Tully, twiddling his fingers down his leg.
No, not so very gay.
I know. You're a fly-by-night.
No, I assure you all my people are most respectable.
Well then, you're a dark horse.
Tully, mystified.
A dark horse?
You know, one of those outsiders who comes up with a rush on the rails at the last minute and wins by a short head. Do you get me?
I don't quite understand what you mean.
I mean, you can go the pace when you like.
She raises her dress and picks a piece of fluff from the hem, blows it into space.
No, I don't go.
Sees Mamie exposing a deal of leg. He is very embarrassed. Wipes his forehead with handkerchief.
No, I don't go at all.
Rising and backing away from her.
What do you do to amuse yourself?
I go to chapel on Wednesdays and Saturdays.
Doing a sort of skating act with legs and twisting backwards and forwards.
And I attend the mission on Tuesdays and Fridays.
Again down to her and seeing leg, stumbles backwards and wiping forehead with handkerchief, keeps up this business, doing a sort of skating waltz.
Did they teach you that ragtime down at the mission?
Jumping up.
I like your drunken step. I must get a hold of that.
Catches Tully and forces him round the room as if dancing a ragtime. Mamie sings and dances as well. Tully breaks away from Mamie and rushes to door right and knocking on door, feverishly.
John, John!
John, spoken off.
What is it? What is it?
I'm being tempted.
Well, stick it. Don't be a fool.
Tully rushes up to window right, then down again to armchair. Mamie follows him up and down on left side of table. She motions to him with her eyes coyly to sit in armchair. He succumbs, sits gingerly on front of chair. Mamie sits on arm of chair and puts right arm around his neck. Tully snatches it away nervously.
Now tell me, what's this mission for?
It's for the poor people.
Sees Mamie's exposed ankle, turns away nervously.
We give them musical evenings to keep them out of the public houses. I play the flute.
You do what?
I play the flute.
Oh, help.
Oh, they like it.
Bell heard outside door left. Mamie, starting.
I wonder what that is.
Goes to door right, calling to John.
Jack, Jack, there's a ring at the bell. Do you think it can be the cat?
Tully, rising and going up center.
A cat wouldn't ring the bell, Shirley.
Enter John dressed in pajamas and dressing gown from door right.
She couldn't possibly be here yet a while, whatever happened.
Enter Chalmers left with card on salver, and crosses to John.
And please don't call my wife a cat.
I'm sorry.
Sits in armchair. John, reading card.
Good. Show him in at once.
Exit Chalmers, door left.
It's Mr. Nixon Trippett.
Mr. How much?
Mr. Nixon Trippett, the inspector from the motor bus company. The man I told you about is going to examine me. Sit down and ask him to wait. Say I shan't be long.
Tully, perplexed.
What have we got to do?
Mammy will tell you all about it.
Exit John Wright.
Now listen here, Birdie Bright Eyes.
Oh, stop it.
Down center.
All we've got to do is keep saying, Poor John.
Poor John.
I'm to pretend I'm John's wife.
Poor John.
Mamie, rising.
What do you mean?
Nixon Trippett enters, shown by Chalmers. He is a very ugly man of 40, dressed in frock coat and wearing spectacles. He is almost shabby genteel. Chalmers retires. Tully nervously retreats from Mamie and seeing Trippett advances with uncertainty. Tully to Trippett.
Poor John. I mean, Mr. Ayers won't be a minute. Will you take a seat?
Brings chair down from table left center and places it center in a line with armchair right and small chair left. Trippett places hat on table left center and coming down to chair center.
Thank you, sir.
All sit. Mamie in armchair. Trippett chair center. Tully chair left.
Thank you, sir.
Removes gloves. John groans loudly off right. All rise slowly and simultaneously with eyes fixed on door right, then sit again. John groans again very loudly. All rise. Mamie gets behind armchair. Trippett drags chair up to table left center, keeping eyes on door right all the time. Tully stands by chair left, gazing at door right. John enters groaning from door right. He is in pajamas with a blanket wrapped around him. Mamie assists him into armchair. John groaning all the time. Trippett advancing timidly to John.
Mr. Ayers, are you the injured person?
Trippett, again advancing cautiously.
Might I ask if you are the injured person?
Don't I look like it? Do you think I'm doing this to be funny?
Mamie, patting John's head.
Poor John.
Poor John.
Trippett glares at Tully, then over to him.
Do you think it would be advisable for me to call another day?
No, it's all right. I can stick it.
He's awfully brave, you know.
You ought to have kept in bed.
Going to table right center.
It would have been better if I hadn't let you know I was coming.
Places gloves on table.
Oh, no, it wouldn't.
Poor John.
Poor John.
Trippett gazes first at Mamie and then at Tully.
Well now, may I ask a few questions that will help me make out my report?
Pulls notebook and pencil out and looks round for something to write on.
Yes, ask as many as you like.
To Tully.
Bring that table over for Mr. Sticks and Triplets.
Not Sticks and Triplets, Nixon Trippett.
Tully brings small table from down left and places it on left of armchair. Trippett brings chair from left of table right center and places it on left of small table.
I beg your pardon.
Tully moves round to back of armchair on left of Mamie. Trippett sits and preparing to write in notebook.
Now then, Mr. John Ayers, isn't it?
Yes, John Ayers.
Trippett writes.
Oh, my back.
Poor John.
Poor John.
Trippett looks at Tully, then writing again.
Tell me, Mr. Ayers, are you married?
Of course.
Absent-mindedly, taking Tully's hand in mistake for Mamie's and placing it by his face. Realizing his mistake, he throws it away, calling him a silly ass, and then taking Mamie's hand.
Yes, of course.
Any family?
Yes.
No.
Trippett, writing in book.
Yes and no. What is your height?
4 feet 4 and a bit.
Age?
42.
Chest measurement?
42, too.
Ever been vaccinated?
Well, my godfather was Mr. Tully, and my godmother was...
I said vaccinated.
Oh, I beg.
Oh no, he never catches anything.
Trippett, writing again.
Now, Mr. Ayers, you said you were traveling in one of the company's buses when this accident took place?
Of course I was. Last Friday, coming from Q.
Poor John.
Poor John.
John, to Mamie.
I'm afraid you won't have me with you much longer, darling.
Oh.
Tully, leaning over and looking into Trippett's face.
It's hard to see him struck down like this.
Trippett rises, slightly annoyed. Tully retreats to window right, then out of window and in by window left. Starts back when he sees Trippett still watching and pointing at him with his pencil. Trippett, resuming.
Could you tell me who was inside the bus, or describe the people in any way?
There was, Mr. Richard Turner?
Yes, we have acknowledged his claim. A check for $500 was sent him this morning.
John, jumping up and leaning over to Trippett.
What?
Recovering himself and sitting again.
Oh, it's only a spasm, that's all. Oh, I am bad.
Could you describe anyone else who was in the bus?
There were 2 soldiers in khaki, and a very fat old woman.
Trippett writes. Tully sidles around to back of armchair again.
Did these people make any statement or pass any remark?
When the collision occurred, someone said it was like being out at the front.
The stout lady said that.
Mamie turns away smiling. Tully shows surprise and disgust.
No, Mr. Trippett. The soldier.
Poor John.
Tully, who is now on left of Trippett, pats Trippett's head.
Poor John.
Trippett turns on Tully, very annoyed, then back to John.
Now, may I ask, why didn't you report this at the time?
How could I? I was too stunned, I suppose.
I quite appreciate what you say, Mr. Ayers. But it's one of our rules that you should have lodged your complaint at the time the accident occurred.
I suppose if a man was killed stone dead, he ought to leave his name and address.
If he knew where he was going. But in this case, the situation is quite different. The Mr. Turner you mentioned just now informed us that he was the only passenger injured in the accident, and the other occupants of the bus rather bear out his statement.
How does he know? He couldn't see my back.
You see, you have no witnesses.
Shrugs.
No witnesses, indeed. Oh, yes, I have. Don't you run away with any idea like that. My friend Tully here was sitting next to me in the bus the whole of the time.
Tully almost collapses.
Oh, indeed, indeed.
Tully,
quickly and very agitated, down to left of Trippett.
But I make no claim, indeed I don't. No, I make no claim at all.
I don't think I have your name and address.
Mr. Bertram Josiah Tully, number 14 St. Mark's Mansions.
Trippett, writing, then to Tully.
And you yourself were not injured?
Not at present, not a scratch.
Poor John.
Poor John.
Trippett looks at John.
How do you account for that, if he was sitting next to you, Mr. Ayers?
When the collision came, I fell forward on the 2 soldiers. They had been in training for months and were as hard as nails, and naturally I sprained my back, while Mr. Tully here shot forward right on top of the fat old woman.
And not hurt?
She was enormously fat.
Trippett, to Tully, who was now up again and behind armchair.
And did you pass any comment at the time?
No, but the woman did.
I think I said, "Oh, dear, dear, dear."
Of course I shall have to take proceedings against your company if it costs me every penny my wife's got. That I've got.
I don't think that will be necessary, Mr. Ayers. Our company is a very generous one, and although we cannot acknowledge any legal obligation, we like to treat our passengers as fairly as we can.
I'm sure you do.
We like to make friends.
You have a friendly face, Mr. Trippett.
We want to see you riding in our buses again.
Mind you, I like your buses.
They're such a pretty color.
Mamie digs Tully in ribs.
And if this matter could be settled at once, I'm sure you would be most satisfied.
I'm sure I should.
Now, speaking without prejudice, what sum of money do you fancy would compensate you?
John, to Mamie.
What do you think, dear?
Tully, signaling 500 on fingers.
You see, there'll be all the doctor's expenses, a terrible loss of time and money, Probably funeral expenses.
Ah, I can't bear it.
John to Trippett.
Suppose we say 500. Without prejudice, as you say.
Trippett raises his eyebrows.
I'm afraid that's quite out of the question. Do you realize what 500 means? I'm afraid I couldn't entertain anything like that. But I'll tell you what I will do. If you like to settle the matter offhand now, and give me your signature, I'll pay down at once the sum of...
Taking note from pocket and presenting it to John.
£5.
Don't be absurd.
A £5 Bank of England note, Mr. Ayers. You could go away for a nice little holiday on a £5 note.
John rises, anger rising.
Really, I think you've come here to insult me.
Certainly not, Mr. Ayers. And without prejudice, I think you would be well advised to accept my offer.
John up to Trippett.
And without prejudice, I think you're a silly ass.
Trippett rises. Mamie comforting John.
Don't upset yourself, John.
Why doesn't he offer me a bag of nuts or a balloon?
Trippett getting gloves from table right center.
I'm sorry you look at things in that light, Mr. Ayers.
Tully, during this speech, gets Trippett's hat and holds it perched high up on his right hand. With his other hand, he holds the door left open.
All I can do is hand in my report.
Going left.
The company's doctor will come and examine you, and the matter will be out of my hands.
Knocks into Tully, sees hat, takes it, bows to Tully, goes to door left, turns.
I wish you good day, sir.
To John.
And I hope you'll get better soon.
Exit left. Trippett, followed by Tully.
I don't think I shall. £5 for a broken back?
Tully, rushing on from door left.
It's all right, John. Mrs. Ayers has come back.
What?
Your wife, Jack. Hide me.
Mamie tries to get under table right center. John pulls her back.
No, that way. Hide her, Tully.
Tully wandering aimlessly about. John pushes him up to window right center. Mamie gathers up hat, etc., and goes window right center. Tully gets Mamie's parasol from settee, and John pushes him out of window.
Quick behind those curtains. Take those things away.
Throwing Mamie's gloves after Tully. John gets into easy chair quickly, with blanket still round him. Groans. Enter Pamela, door left. Pamela, seeing John, alarmed.
John! John! I didn't expect to find you like this.
And I didn't expect to see you back quite so soon.
I've come to say I'm sorry. Mother has seen that necklace you gave me.
Placing her bag on table down center.
And she says it's worth £500.
Mother knows.
But it is valuable.
Of course it is. Instead of spending my money on riotous living, I've been spending it on you.
How good of you. But do tell me, what has happened?
Don't be alarmed. You know I was in a bus accident the other day.
You were not hurt.
Things have developed since. I think they are going to compensate me.
Pamela, joyfully.
Then you are not really ill?
Goes down below table. John, rising.
That depends. I'm going into that bedroom.
Pointing right.
And I'm not coming out until that bus company gives me £500. Not if I've got to lie there for a month.
Oh, don't say that, John.
I know what I'm doing. I'll teach them to offer me a balloon. I mean, a £5 nut. No, not nut. Note. Now please go and get the bed ready.
Leading Pamela to door right.
But, John?
Do go, to oblige me. I'm expecting the doctor here at any minute.
Pushes Pamela off door right. John signals to Tully, who drags Mamie out by the hand. They come down a few steps.
Quick as you can.
Pamela re-enters. Tully and Mamie get behind curtains again quickly.
But, John, it may be weeks and weeks before these people pay out the money.
John, holding blanket high up to obscure Pamela's view of the room.
Now do, please, do as I ask you. If the doctor finds me out of bed, it'll ruin me.
Pamela, going back into room right.
Oh, very well.
Exit Pamela. John signals and Tully drags Mamie across to door left.
Go on, hurry up, hurry up.
They are nearly across to door when Pamela re-enters.
But John, it's just occurred to me.
Tully and Mamie turn and Pamela faces them. John falls over blanket down right. Tully still holds Mamie's hand. In his other hand, he has Mamie's parasol.
Oh, I don't think you have met before.
I don't think we have.
Let me introduce you. This is my wife.
Pointing to Pamela.
And this is...
Pointing to Mamie.
This is Mrs. Tully.
Tully drops Mamie's hand, thunderstruck.
What?
Pamela, doubtfully.
Mrs. Tully?
Yes, he was married secretly a week ago.
Tully, boiling with rage.
Oh, I say.
Mamie turns her ring round to look like wedding ring and holds hand up conspicuously.
I'm sorry to let the cat out of the bag, old man, but it can't be helped.
Tully rushes across stage in front of table and armchair, with Mamie's sunshade raised in a threatening manner.
John! John!
John, kneeling to Tully, pleadingly.
Bertram! Bertram!
Tully's face relaxes and develops into a broad smile.
Oh, John, John.
Giggles. Pamela and Mamie shake hands, center. Curtain. End of Act 1. Act 2 of A Little Bit of Fluff by Walter W. Ellis. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Act 2. Scene. Same as Act 1. 2 weeks have elapsed since the events in the preceding act. John Ayres and Tully are seated at a small table down center. John in armchair on right of table. Tully in small chair left of table. They are playing cards. John is dressed in pajamas with blanket round him as in Act 1. Tully wears a lounge suit and slippers. As the curtain rises, John is shuffling the cards and dealing for nap. Pamela enters from bedroom right and then adjusts her hat, looking in mirror by fireplace. She wears the pearl necklace. John deals.
I must say, I think it is very good of you, Mr. Tully.
Beg pardon, Mrs. Ayres.
I say it's very good of you to come and sit with John as you do.
Oh, not at all, Mrs. Ayres. It's a pleasure. John's one of the best in the world.
No, that's not your card.
Picking up one of Tully's cards and looking at it.
Oh, yes, it is.
Putting card down again.
But he's a dirty cheat.
Heaven helps those who help themselves.
No, John, we're here to help others.
Then what are the others here for?
To help the others, I suppose.
John, calling to hand.
Well, I'll go too.
Now, Mrs. Ayres, didn't we stipulate that there were to be no twos?
To John.
At two-handed nap, you can't call less than 3, surely.
They both argue loudly. Pamela, looking round.
Now don't quarrel. There's good children.
Tully's a bad loser.
I'm not. You're a bad player. How can we possibly call twos? It's no game at all.
Well, I go 3.
Very good. I pass 3.
They play the hand. Pamela strolls down, putting on gloves, and watches game.
Play to that. I'll give you 2s. That's 1.
Plays again.
Trump. Aha.
I'm not afraid of that.
You won't get this.
Plays card.
Thank you.
Leads again. Tully takes the trick.
That's another one up against you.
Leads again. John takes the trick.
Got it. Got it. Got it.
Pamela comes down to top of table.
Nothing could touch a hand like that.
John teasing Tully.
You get the cards, Tully, but you don't know how to play them.
Oh, I think Mr. Tooley plays a very excellent game.
They start dealing.
Now just a moment.
Where are you going?
I just want to run around and see how Mother is. I'll leave John in your care, Mr. Tooley.
Certainly, Mrs. Ayers.
Pamela to Tully.
Would you mind answering the door?
Answering the door? Of course he will. What's he here for?
We sent the maids away a week ago. They talk so.
Cook said she knew positively there was nothing the matter with me at all.
So I've given them a holiday.
Much the wisest thing to do.
If the inspector or the doctor from the bus company calls, just ask him in and say I shall not be long. And you, John.
Oh, I shall get into bed like a flash of lightning.
I don't suppose they'll come.
John looking at Pamela.
Do you think it's wise to wear that necklace on these dark nights? You might have it stolen.
Pamela smiling and displaying necklace.
Ah, I've been waiting for you to notice it.
Well, it's running a risk. I should leave it at home if I were you.
Does it look valuable to you?
Of course it does.
Well, it isn't. This is only imitation.
Oh, it looks just the same to me.
Mother had the real one copied for 30 shillings. She was so afraid I should lose it.
That's very thoughtful.
Mother does know.
Pamela posing.
But it looks genuine, doesn't it?
It looks jolly good. What have you done with the real one?
Ah, that's the telling. I'm never going to part with that as long as I live.
Crossing to door left.
Shall I give your love to Mother?
No.
John!
I mean, yes.
Exit Pamela.
Yes, if you like.
To Tully.
That's the 14th love I've sent to Mother this week.
Door slams off left. Tully shuffles cards.
I don't mind telling you, Tully, I'm more than sick of this business. I've been shut up now for nearly a fortnight.
But the doctor from the bus company ought to have called on you long ago.
He did call, last Friday week, and I happened to be out. Just my luck. Pam saw him and made some excuse, and he said he'd call again. But he hasn't been near the place since.
Tully deals the cards for Nap.
Their idea is, of course, to tire you out.
And we've got to be careful. Did you read about Dick Turner?
He got his £500 out of them, didn't he?
Yes, but do you know the latest? They're going to have him up for fraud.
Oh dear, dear, dear. What does Mrs. Ayers say about it?
The Turner case has rather upset her. She's terribly afraid of the law. If you mention the word, she has a panic.
So you see, good people are the happiest after all.
But they don't always look it.
Looks at Tully with a grin.
Let me see now. It's my call, isn't it?
No, John, you called last time.
So I did. You're quite right.
Tully jubilant.
I'm going nap.
You're going nap?
Yes.
John rising.
Huck, it's the doctor. The doctor from the bus company.
Flings off blanket and rushes to door right, groaning as if in pain. Tully runs to window.
There's nobody there. Desist.
Comes down to door left.
Desist.
John stops groaning.
There's nobody at the door. Not a sign of anyone.
Really? Are you sure?
Coming to table center.
Quite sure.
John mixing cards up all together.
All right. Deal again. Deal again.
Sits. Tully comes to table, looks with disgust at cards, gathers them up and sits.
It's a very funny thing, John. But every time I call nap, you imagine you hear the doctor coming. Coincidence, I suppose.
Gives a big sigh.
What's the matter with you, Tully? Have you ever been in love?
Tully looks and smiles.
I was nearly caught once.
Oh, what was her name?
Agnes.
Sorrowfully.
She made a vow that if she ever met a really good man, she would love him, though he be as ugly as sin.
And she loved you?
Devotedly.
Why didn't you marry the girl?
She was so expensive.
They all are. I don't believe woman was the rib of man. I believe she was the the appendix. No use to anybody.
That's what makes me so timid. I'm so afraid that one of these days some woman will get me into a corner and make me do something thoughtless.
Cards dealt.
I shouldn't worry about that if I were you. Let me see. It's my call, isn't it?
Yes.
Well, I pass.
You pass? Well, You can't hear the doctor coming, can you?
No.
Well, I'm going. Nap.
What, again?
You haven't given me a chance yet.
John rises.
I have an idea.
No, play this hand first. I've called nap.
John searches on table left center.
No, it's not there.
What are you looking for?
The real necklace.
She wouldn't leave it about like that.
You don't know. She might.
Postman's double knock heard off left. Rushing for bedroom door.
The doctor! The doctor!
The blanket is left in armchair.
It isn't the doctor. It's the postman. I know his knock.
John goes out of door left, returns with a letter, and reads it center. John, speaking off.
Yes, you're right. There's a letter in the box.
Enters.
I told you it was only the postman. Do come and play this nap out. I've got such beautiful cards.
Hang your nap. This is serious. It's from little Mammy Scott.
Mommy Scott? Who's she?
You know, your wife.
Oh, don't start that again, please.
Rises. John, reading from letter.
The Raja declines to wait any longer for his necklace and threatens to place the matter in the hands of the police.
Oh, dear.
You'd better go and tell her the necklace is having its clasp repaired and is coming back from the jeweler's tomorrow.
Is it?
Oh, do have a little common sense. I think I know where to find her. Put on your hat and go round to the 500 Club.
Is that a ladies' club?
No, mixed.
No, I couldn't do that, really.
Why not?
I never believed in mixed schools or mixed bathing, and I'm certainly not going to a mixed club at my time of life.
All you've got to do is to ask for Miss Mammy Scott.
No, I've never been to such a place as the 500 Club in my life.
Take your checkbook with you. They'll make you very welcome.
A great deal too welcome, I expect. No, I couldn't do it. Why don't you go?
How can I? I'm ill in bed. It's 100 to 1 if I put my foot on the doorstep I should run into the arms of the doctor, Pamela, and the whole bus company. Ruin, divorce, and fraud await me on the doorstep.
Well, I'm not going.
Don't forget you're in this as well as me. If that necklace is lost, you're a party to it.
Oh, don't say that.
You've acknowledged that little woman as your wife. She's not the sort to be played with.
Oh, don't talk like that.
But I do talk like that.
Here, take my key. Step over the balcony.
Pointing to window left center.
Get through my window and go out through my flat and come back the same way.
Along the balcony and through your flat? Oh, they wouldn't see me then. I could do it in 20 minutes in a taxi, couldn't I?
Easily.
Top hole. That's splendid.
Exit door right.
There isn't a soul at home. The maid's out.
At card table, calling.
I say, you'll play this nap out when you come back.
John, spoken off.
What say?
You'll play this nap out when you come back.
Oh, yes.
I'll leave the cards just as they are.
Righto.
I won't look at your hand.
All right.
Do you know this is the 4th nap I've been done out of?
Bad luck.
How long will you be?
About 20 minutes, I should say.
Somehow I don't quite like being left here alone.
Why not?
I have a presentiment of impending disaster.
Say it again?
I have an impediment of presenting disaster.
John enters in overcoat, muffler, and hat. Note: he completes his change after next exit.
You do get hold of the most absurd expressions. Now all we've got to do is to keep Mammy quiet until we get the money, and then everything will be okay.
Crossing up to window left center.
I'll be as quick as I can. Which way do I go?
Both by open window up left center.
Just step over the balcony.
Exit John through window.
The second window to the right.
Calling after John.
Mind the geraniums, just step over them and don't be seen.
John heard off.
They'll take me for a creeper, won't they?
Tully stands out on balcony watching John. Pamela rushes in dramatically, closing the door after her.
John! John! The doctor! The doctor!
Rushes across and opens door right, calling off.
John! The doctor from the motor bus company is coming. John?
Back to center, moves card table to left.
John? John! Where are you?
Tully comes down from window.
Oh, Mr. Tooley, where's John?
I couldn't say at the moment.
John! Is he in the house?
Tully opening and shutting his mouth, but saying nothing.
Oh, please don't stand there yawning.
I'm not yawning, I'm trying to say something.
Where is John?
Tully, with a gulp.
He's out.
Out? Impossible! Are you sure?
Quite sure.
Where has he gone?
He's gone to 500 clubs.
Pamela turning down left.
Great heavens, and we've waited for this day.
We've waited for this day?
Pamela dashes to door left, stands with her back to it.
Mr. Tooley, you and I are the only people in this house.
Tully, alarmed and going down right.
Oh, don't say that. Don't say that.
We cannot miss this opportunity.
Opportunity? Can't we? Oh, don't say that. Don't say that.
Moving away in apprehension.
But I do say it.
Crossing center.
And you can't have an atom of pluck unless you do as I ask.
Really, this is most embarrassing.
I want you to get into pajamas as quickly as you can.
Removes her hat and putting it on table left center.
Get into pajamas? I've never been asked to do such thing in my life.
Trembling all over.
Not for all the gold in the Bank of England, Mrs. Ayers.
Pamela, coming center.
Yes, yes, please, for my sake, dear Mr. Tooley.
Then up to window left.
Not for any woman breathing. Your endearments are wasted on me. Oh, I knew this would happen one day. I knew some woman would get me into a corner.
I only want you to take John's place.
Ho, ho.
Please, please.
Advancing to Tully.
Just for a little time while John is out.
But it's right against my principles.
It's our only chance.
Crosses to armchair, kneels on front of it, looking up at Tully, who is behind it, and pleading.
He may be back here at any moment. You'll have to do this for me, really, Mr. Tooley.
I'll never do it unless you use force, and a woman can't force a man to get into pajamas. It isn't legal.
Dashes up to window right. Pamela follows him.
If you come any nearer, I'll shriek from the window.
Bell heard off left. Pamela, up to window left quickly, looks out, then back again.
There is the doctor. I knew it. Now what on earth are we going to do?
The doctor?
Yes, the doctor.
The doctor?
Sits in armchair.
Oh, the doctor. Why, didn't you make your meaning clear just now?
What did you think I meant?
Tully very embarrassed.
What did you think I meant?
Coming down to Tully.
Well, what you said.
Belle heard off left.
That man is out there on the doorstep now, and there's no John, a doctor and no patient, and we swore he was unable to leave his bed.
Oh dear, dear, dear.
Belle heard off left. Both listen.
Perhaps if we keep quite quiet, he'll go away.
No, he knows we must be in the house. Mr. Tooley, this doctor has never seen John, doesn't know him from Adam.
I won't impersonate Adam.
Would it be asking too much of you to let him think that you are my husband?
Well, if you put it like that, and you think I could, I'll do my best.
Very well. Go and get into bed.
Oh no, I couldn't get into bed. I can't bear people to see me in bed. What about the chair? The inspector saw John when he was sitting up. Why couldn't he see me in the chair?
Belle heard off.
Oh, very well. Be as quick as you can. I'll keep the doctor talking.
Crossing to door left.
Groan. Groan when you're ready. Get into John's pajamas.
At door.
I'd do the same for you.
Pamela runs off left.
Oh.
Tully runs off right. Tully re-enters with pajamas, puts them on back of armchair, looks round room, hops up to window left, draws curtains, hops along to window right, draws curtains, goes to standard lamp above door left, switches off light, then over to armchair. He puts on pajama jacket over clothes, picks up pajama trousers, holds them against himself, then looks towards doors right and left as if someone might be looking through keyholes. Goes to fireplace and brings small fire screen to down to right of armchair. Puts on trousers, jumps himself into them, fastens them up, takes screen back to fireplace, comes back to armchair, wraps blanket round him, lies back in armchair and groans loudly. Pamela enters and crosses to Tully.
I've told him you're not awake. Pretend to be asleep.
Switches on lights and exits left. Re-enters almost immediately, holding door open.
Oh, come in, doctor.
Then crossing to Tully. Dr. Bigland enters, hat and bag in hand. He is a fairly corpulent man of 50 and blunt in manner. Places hat and bag on small table down left.
This is our patient, doctor.
Gets to back of armchair.
Ahem. Wouldn't he be better in bed?
That is what I try to impress on him. But he says he feels the pain less sitting up. And you can't persuade him. His mind seems thoroughly unhinged since the accident.
Doctor crosses over to Tully, puts head to Tully's heart. Tully makes a face. Doctor raises his head, almost catching Tully making a face.
A pity to wake him, don't you think?
Doctor still examining Tully.
This is the best sleep he's had for weeks.
John is entering by window left. Seeing Doctor, he retires immediately. Doctor, having finished his examination, crosses center.
I understood. He was quite a small man.
Tully slides down in chair, trying to make himself look smaller. A very conspicuous movement.
Yes, he was. But he seems to have grown considerably since the accident.
Doctor goes to Tully, feels his pulse.
Oh, don't wake him, please, doctor.
Oh, I shan't wake him. Don't worry.
Tully snores loudly. To Pamela.
Any throat trouble?
No, he hasn't complained of any.
Keeps you awake at night a good deal, I dare say?
Going left.
Oh, yes, he does.
By the way, has Mr. Trippitt, the inspector of claims for our company, has he been here today?
No, doctor, not to my knowledge.
I was wondering, that's all. He said he would meet me here to discuss the case.
Tully shows nervousness.
No, I don't think he's called.
Ah, probably he'll come later. This matter has been hanging on too long, you know. It ought to have been settled up days ago.
Yes, I quite agree.
Doctor takes out watch.
Well, I have another call to pay, close by here. I'll look back a little later on. Perhaps you'll be awake then.
Thank you, Doctor.
Crosses to door left. Holds door open. Doctor picks up hat and follows her.
Allow me.
Is going off. Tully rises in chair and stares after him.
Oh, I'm forgetting my bag.
Turning, he almost catches Tully looking. Tully collapses immediately.
The weather keeps warm, doesn't it, Doctor?
Doctor picking up bag.
It does, indeed.
Exit Doctor left, followed by Pamela. John enters at window left, comes down quickly, places hat on table left center, comes to Tully. Tully starts up.
Who told you to do this?
That's the doctor from the bus company.
And those are my new pajamas.
Throwing coat and scarf onto settee at back.
I know.
Enter Pamela.
Oh, there you are, John.
Who is responsible for this absurd jumble?
Pointing to Tully.
And who does the doctor think that is?
Why, you. You, of course. There was no one else here when the doctor came. And someone had to be ill in bed.
But not in a chair. I know this game backwards. If you can get 500 in bed, you can't get 50 in a chair.
To Tully.
You've mucked up the whole show.
I'm quite sure I didn't want to do it.
Turns his back on John. John, holding forth.
And it's not very flattering to me if he goes out and about and becomes known as John Ayres.
I simply did it to oblige your wife.
If you are in the habit of getting into those things simply to oblige ladies, you'll soon find yourself in the divorce court.
Don't be cruel.
Going right.
It's no use arguing. The doctor has only gone a little way, and he'll be back here any minute.
John to Pamela.
Surely you could have kept the doctor waiting a little while, or made some excuse?
What possible excuse could I make? Last time he called, I said you were in your bath.
But that was last Friday week. Surely another bath wouldn't be out of place by now.
Tully begins to remove trousers of pajamas. Pamela, alarmed.
Mr. Tooley, please not in my presence.
For heaven's sake, be decent. Be decent.
Tully goes up to fireplace, gets behind screen, and refastens strings of pajamas.
I've had enough of this.
John, back to center.
Can't you see the awful situation we're in? If Trippett calls, he'll demand to see me. If the doctor comes, he'll expect to see Dolly. And if they both come together, heaven help us.
Hush! Shh!
Hurries up to window left. John and Tully start back in fear.
What is it? What is it?
Pamela, coming down.
Ah, it's nothing.
Oh, well, don't do it, Pam. It unnerves me.
Tully, coming down right.
I'd give anything to be out of this.
Of course you would. Always thinking of yourself.
Tully stoops and pulls down leg of pajamas.
And don't stretch those pajamas.
I don't enjoy the best of health. I shan't be a nuisance to you much longer.
Why talk like that? You know you will.
Tully goes up to window right.
I can't say that I'm enjoying the situation.
Well, don't lose your heads.
Well, what are we going to do?
John, hand to forehead.
Already I have the whole scheme laid out here. It's perfectly simple. This is absolutely an inspiration. Tully must cut off his mustache.
Tully, crossing to John.
No, I'm ready to oblige to a certain extent, but I'm not going to be messed about.
It's absolutely necessary. I've always been clean-shaven, and it's the first thing that is noticed in a man.
To Pamela.
Now get me a pair of scissors. quickly.
Pushing Tully into armchair right, Pamela gets scissors from table left center and takes them to John. She stands in front of Tully. John cuts off Tully's mustache.
I protest. I'm not going to be chopped about.
John, over Tully.
If you only keep still, you won't know anything about it. Now don't move, or I shall hurt you.
I protest. Grr.
Pamela, holding Tully down in armchair.
Oh, don't choke him, John.
I wouldn't do anything in the world against his wishes. Keep still, Bertram.
Mustache is cut off. John goes down right. Pamela goes down left. Tully sits up in chair.
I don't know why you are making all this fuss. There's practically nothing of it when you come to gather it up. There. I've never seen you look so handsome.
Placing mustache in waistcoat pocket.
Really, I think it suits you, Mr. Tooley.
But don't you see the doctor's already seen me with a mustache?
Oh, Lord!
And this is my flute night down at the mission.
Bell heard off left.
It's the doctor back again, I expect.
Runs up to window left, looks off. John, pulling Tully out of chair.
Go on, get into bed.
Leads Tully to door right.
You don't think he'll operate on me, do you?
Exit Tully, door right.
John, it's a woman.
John, advancing.
A woman?
It's Mrs. Tooley.
John, back quickly to door right, puts back against it.
Mrs. Tully!
Pamela comes down center.
Whatever is she coming here for?
She knows I'm an invalid and can't leave the house, and I suppose she imagines that her husband is here. Now, you had better not be seen. Go across quickly into the dining room.
Crossing to Pamela.
And shut yourself in.
I want to know exactly why Mrs. Tooley has called here.
There's no time to discuss anything. Will you please go and hide in the dining room?
And leave you alone with that woman? Most certainly not.
Then perhaps you will be good enough to explain to Mrs. Tully why her husband is in your bedroom.
No. Why can't you explain it?
Not in your presence.
Couldn't Mr. Tooley explain if we sent his wife into him?
Good heavens, no. He'd go mad.
Why should he?
Well, he's only recently been married, and he's not in his own flat or in his own bed. Hang it, he's not in his own pajamas.
Well, I'm going to ask him.
To door right.
Do please listen to reason, Pam.
Pamela, knocking on door and calling to Tully.
Mr. Tooley, are you in bed?
Tully, heard off.
Yes.
Your wife has called.
Tully, heard off. A long moan of agony.
Oh.
I say your wife has called. We are sending her into you.
Oh.
Will you kindly explain everything to her?
Glass and crockery crash off right. Pamela staggers back from door. John backs up a little, rather frightened.
That's done it.
Tully dashes into room. Makes a dive for door left. John catches him and swings him into chair left center. Tully has blanket round his shoulders and head. He half sits, half lies in chair in a collapsed condition.
Let me go, let me go.
John, across to Pamela.
I told you what would happen.
Shall I go and fetch Mother?
Fetch Mother? Good heavens, no. Give the poor devil a chance. Have you got any smelling salts?
Scent spray?
Yes, that'll do.
Pamela gets scent spray from mantelpiece and gives it to John. John squirts scent into Tully's face. Tully sneezes loudly.
It's the most extraordinary thing I've ever experienced, to see a man so afraid of his wife.
Some of us don't show it like he does.
Bell heard off left.
His marriage was a mistake from the first.
To Pamela.
Will you go into the dining room now? And I'll see Mrs. Tully here in the presence of her husband and explain everything.
If Mr. Tooley will promise to remain in the room.
Yes.
No.
John, threatening Tully with spray.
Yes. Yes.
Tully cowers into blanket. To Pamela.
Now go along as quickly as you can.
Places spray table right center. Pamela, crossing to door left.
But understand, I expect to hear Mr. Tully's voice the whole time.
John, crossing left.
You shall, you shall. He shan't leave the room. And when he's not talking, I'll get him to sing.
Exit Pamela briskly left. Turning to Tully.
Go and let Mammy in as quickly as you can. Show her in here. Then stand by that door and don't let anyone else in on any account. And sing, just through the keyhole. It'll keep Mrs. Ayres quiet.
Tully, crossing to door left.
You won't leave me alone with Miss Fluffy Scott again, will you?
I'll get rid of her as soon as ever I can. Go and let her in quickly.
Tully runs out of door left. John holds the door open looking off. A moment and Mamie hurries in.
Come along, Mammy.
John shuts door, forgetting all about Tully, and catches Tully's arm in the door. Tully gives a yell of pain, waggling his hurt fingers.
Oh, sorry, old man, I forgot.
Tully shuts door.
Now don't leave that door whatever you do. And sing. Sing!
John goes to Mamie, who is center. Tully stands close to door left and sings the rosary. Mamie, anxiously.
Jack, did you get my letter?
Your letter? What letter?
Mamie, seeing Tully, who is singing loudly.
What's that?
It's all right. He's not listening.
I wrote you about the necklace.
But I sent you word last week that the necklace was in the hands of the jeweler.
I know. I told the Rajah that, and he won't believe me. He's simply furious. Where is the jeweler's? Let me take it back to him, whether it's damaged or not. Do.
But there isn't time. I'm expecting my wife at any moment, and you must get away from here.
But I dare not go home without it.
Throwing her arms round John's neck.
Darling, do, please.
Tully, embarrassed, sings louder than ever. John, to Tully.
Oh, dry up, dry up.
To Mamie.
Well, now I'll tell you the truth. The jeweler sent the necklace back yesterday, and I've given it to my wife to take care of.
Mamie, joyfully.
Then you've got it! You've got it!
Tully runs towards John.
You've got it? You never told me.
John, to Tully sharply.
Watch that door!
Tully resumes singing the rosary. To Mamie.
Yes, Mrs. Ayres is wearing it.
Oh, I am pleased. But why didn't you give it to Mr. Tully if she thinks I'm his wife?
Ah, that's the point. That's the trouble.
Nodding his head towards Tully.
There are some people in this world you can't trust.
I could tell you a few things about Mr. Tully. Ask him if he knows a girl called Agnes. She teaches him ragtime down at the mission.
Tully sings louder. John to Tully.
Oh, dry up! Will you dry up?
Tully drops on all fours and stops singing. Mamie, looking at Tully.
What's he doing there? Saying his prayers?
You must keep to that door in case Mrs. Ayres comes back.
Tully has stopped singing and is trying hard not to listen.
Well, give me the necklace and I'll be off at once.
I'll send it on to you tomorrow.
No, I dare not go home without it.
But how can I give it to you? Mrs. Ayres is wearing it round her neck.
Can't I wait until she returns?
No, no. She doesn't know you're here. And you must leave at once before she comes back.
Pamela knocks loudly outside door. Tully jumps up. Mamie and John start. All silent. Pamela, off.
I can't hear Mr. Tully's voice.
John, to Tully.
Sing, sing!
Tully resumes singing. I hear you calling me.
That is Mrs. Ayres. Now you can give me the necklace.
That's impossible. I don't want her to know you're here.
But it doesn't matter if she thinks I'm Mrs. Tully.
Tully crosses to John.
I object to that being shouted broadcast.
John, to Tully.
You keep quiet.
To Mamie.
You see, he objects. And don't be so unfeeling. We're expecting the doctor here at any minute. I'm as ill as I can be, and Tully may be operated on at any moment.
Grimaces from Tully.
I don't care who's operated on. I'm not going home without that necklace.
Almost in tears.
Can't you see the trouble we're in?
There'll be worse trouble when the Raja arrives.
Good heavens. You haven't told the Raja about me.
What else could I do? And I had to give him your address.
Oh, Tully, she's given the Raja my address.
Mamie, bursting into tears.
What else could I do? Boo! It's not my fault. And why should I be blamed for it?
Sitting in armchair right. John, down to Mamie.
There, don't cry. Don't cry.
Tully bursts into tears.
What's the matter with you?
I can't bear to see a woman cry.
Mamie shrieks and yells and kicks up her feet.
Hold her feet down.
Sits on Mamie's feet. To Tully.
Don't leave that door.
Tully peeps out of door left and crosses to John.
John, the doctor's arrived.
John, still sitting on Mamie's feet.
Say you're having a bath. You won't be long.
Tully, speaking through keyhole.
I'm in my bath. I shan't be long.
You're not shouting the odds at a race meeting.
I'm in my bath. I shan't be long. Splash, splash.
Moves up and down as if covering himself with water.
Splash.
Tully uses blanket like a towel, drying his back up and down, exaggerated movements.
I'm drying. I'm dying.
Oh, good heavens, this is awful.
Rises, looks at Mamie.
She's fainting. She's fainting. What shall we do?
Put a key down her back.
Well, give me a key.
Tully rushes to door left.
No, not that one, idiot. We may want that.
Tully takes long strides over to door right.
You'll split those pajamas.
Tully gives John key from door right.
Is this the proper thing to do?
Drops key behind Mamie onto armchair, as if down her back.
Ah, she's coming round. No more tears. No more tears, little girl.
Mamie rises and puts arm on John's shoulder.
No, no more tears. No more tears. Ah!
Turning right, she sees Tully and screams at sight of him. Turns to John. John, leading Mamie off into room right.
There, dear, no more tears. You come along into this room and you shall have the necklace, I promise you.
You really mean that, Jack?
Of course I mean it. Now come along.
Exit Mamie and John, room right.
Oh, Mrs. Ayers.
Going center and singing.
Oh, dry those tears. Oh, calm those fears.
John, entering quickly and trying to lock door right.
The key. Where's the key?
You put it down Fluffy's back.
Pamela rushes on from door left.
The doctor says he can't wait much longer.
Exit Pamela quickly. John crosses to Tully.
I suppose you realize that something's got to be done. This girl demands the necklace. The police have been informed, and the Raja is rampant. The bus company claimed me as a patient, and my married happiness rocks in the balance.
Oh, don't talk like that.
Go on, get into that chair.
Pushing Tully to armchair right.
Haven't I done enough for one day?
At this very moment you can wreck my life, and you're going to take advantage of it. Bertram, Bertram!
Presses Tully down into armchair right.
What did I do with those pieces of your mustache?
You put them in your pocket.
Ah, so I did.
John picks up hat and is going to window. Tully in armchair and drawing blanket round him.
You're not going to leave me in this awful predicament.
I shall be back immediately. I have a brilliant idea that will clear up everything. Now, don't forget you are John Ayers.
I'm John Ayers?
John, over to door left.
You can come in.
Back to Tully.
Moan a little, and for heaven's sake try and look intelligent.
John goes off through windows left. Tully makes faces, as if intelligent. Pamela enters left, followed by Doctor. Pamela, crossing to Tully.
Ah, here he is, Doctor.
Doctor, putting hat and bag on table left center.
Is he awake?
Are you awake, dear?
No.
Pamela slaps his head.
Yes.
Still sitting up, and after a bath, too? It's not wise.
We can't keep him in bed. He's so full of spirits.
Yes, I quite understand. Now, don't distress yourself, my dear lady.
Gets chair from right of table left center and places it on left of armchair.
You have your own medical man attending, of course?
Oh, yes, Doctor, of course. But I don't think he understands the case, although he thinks it very serious.
Doctor sits in chair, loud knocks heard off left.
I think that must be Mr. Trippett.
Tully starts up, frightened. Pamela, going to door left.
Excuse me a moment.
Exit Pamela, door left. Doctor watches her off. Tully quickly rises and hides behind armchair. Doctor turns round to examine Tully, finds the chair empty, looks dumbfounded, scratches his head, pushes blanket down which has been left on chair, turns left, looks under his own chair, then looks up left. Tully gets quickly back into armchair again and pulls blanket round him, feigns sleep. Doctor turns again to armchair, sees Tully, can't believe his eyes, pinches himself, lifts Tully's arm. Tully drops it. Doctor lifts Tully's arm again. Tully holds it up this time and moves fingers.
Now then, young man, I want you to tell me exactly where you feel this pain. We don't want you to remain an invalid all your life, although I dare say a little compensation will act as a wonderful restorative.
Pamela enters holding door open. John, peeping round door.
Say it's Mr. Tully.
John is wearing a mustache. Pamela, announcing.
Mr. Tooley.
Tully, rising.
Yes.
It's Mr. Tooley.
John enters. Doctor turns and looks at John. Tully walks on knees round armchair and then sits covering himself with blanket. John, posing as Tully.
May I come in? How do you do, Mrs. Ayres? So pleased to see you. And how is the patient today?
Not much better, I'm afraid.
Oh, no, he's worse. A lot worse. I can see that.
Going behind Tully.
Poor old John.
Poor John.
I don't think we shall have him with us much longer.
Tully sits up.
Bertram.
Tully falls back.
I don't think it's wise to dishearten the patient like that.
Pamela, to John.
This is the doctor from the motor bus company.
Oh, how do you do?
Doctor turns to John.
I'm a very old friend of Mr. Ayres, and I'm very sorry to see him struck down like this.
Tully falls right half off chair. John pulls him back again.
It's a very serious matter.
Yes, the company wish me to convey their deep sympathies.
Deep sympathies aren't much good. I'm afraid it will cost them something more than that.
Oh, he'll be up and about in a few days.
Oh, no, he won't.
Oh, yes, he will.
Oh, no, he won't.
Oh, yes, he will.
Oh, no, he won't. I can promise you that. Can't you see the man has been terribly knocked about?
Aside to Tully.
Groan.
Tully groans long and loudly.
Now tell me, Mrs. Ayres, is he thirsty at all?
No, Doctor.
No, he wouldn't be.
But the pain in his back is simply terrible. He raves.
Aside to Tully.
Rave.
Tully raves, pulls hair up on end, imagines he sees something, tries to catch it, and continues any mad business. Doctor follows his movements closely and seriously. Doctor, to Pamela.
Does he have any pains in the head?
No, Doctor.
No, he wouldn't have.
But his mind's affected.
Is he sleepy at all?
No, not as a rule, Doctor.
No, no.
No, no, he wouldn't be.
Imitating doctor.
How dare you, sir?
Turns away in a rage.
Of course, a good deal of this may proceed from a previous debilitated state.
Debilitated?
I understand the patient has led rather well, if I may be allowed to say so, rather a gay life.
Tully rises, annoyed.
Oh, no, you're quite wrong.
Pointing to Tully.
No one can ever say that John Ayres went the pace. I've known John ever since I was born, and I can safely say he's a living saint. Isn't he, Mrs. Ayres?
Pamela, with a gulp.
Yes, of course.
If anyone knocks about at all, you might accuse me. I'm known everywhere as Tully the Rake.
Tully sits up in protest. Aside.
Bertram!
Tully falls back in chair.
There's just one more question, Mrs. Ayres. Does he have any cold sweats?
Yes, he lives entirely on soda water.
I said, sir, does he have any cold sweats?
Oh, I beg your pardon. I thought you said Schweppes.
Schweppes?
Pamela, crossing to right of armchair.
Yes, he perspires a good deal.
John, aside to Tully.
Perspire.
Tully perspires, wipes head, then wrings handkerchief out.
Perspires. That's quite natural.
To Tully.
Now then, will you tell me exactly where you feel this pain in the back?
John, getting between Doctor and Tully.
Just up between the ribs.
Doctor digs John in back.
Oh, that's the very place.
Will you let the patient tell me?
But he doesn't know as well as I do.
Tully, pointing to John.
Mr. Ayres, or Mr. Tully, this gentleman knows all about it.
Mr. Tully. Where have I heard that name before? Ah,
To John.
you were in the bus accident with him, I believe.
No, that was my brother.
Your brother? And he escaped unhurt?
Yes. He fell on top of a fat old woman who was sitting opposite.
Yes, that poor lady had 3 ribs broken.
Rises.
Still, that concerns your brother.
Sarcastically, John and Tully exchange looks. Doctor takes chair up to right of table, left center, opens bag.
I can't quite understand all this, you know. According to Mr. Trippett's report, the patient was a much smaller man.
Takes out stethoscope from bag, wiping it with his handkerchief and coming down left. John, over to Doctor.
Surely you're not going to measure him, Doctor. Hang it all, he's not dead yet.
No, I simply wish to examine him, that's all.
Turning to John.
Although I have taken the measure of many people in my time.
John turns away and upstage.
Now, Mrs. Ayres, will you kindly loosen the patient's things a little? Just in front.
Tully drags his pajama jacket tightly round him, very much alarmed. Pamela looks at John in despair. John, down to Tully.
Perhaps I can assist.
I shall feel much obliged, sir, if you will not interfere.
Doctor goes over to table down left, keeps his back towards the others.
Couldn't you examine him better in bed, Doctor?
Undoubtedly.
Mamie enters from door right. John sees her and pushes her back.
No, I can't let him go into bed. I don't advise it.
Shutting door right.
And I'm not going to strip.
Bell heard off left. Pamela, up to window left, looks off.
It's Mr. Trippett.
Mr. Trippett. Good. He's just in time.
John, to Tully.
Good. He's just in time. That is lucky. I am glad.
He promised to meet me here.
Takes out watch. John crosses to Doctor.
Isn't it motor bus etiquette for you to discuss the case with Mr. Trippett in private?
No, I don't think that's at all necessary.
Goes up to table left center, puts stethoscope in bag.
I'm sure both Mr. and Mrs. Ayres would like you to consult before anything is said or done in the matter. The dining room is at your service.
Pamela, crossing to and opening door left.
Yes, of course.
Well, if you particularly wish it, I'll see Mr. Trippett.
This way, Doctor.
Thank you, madam. I thank you.
Doctor exits, followed by Pamela. John places chair left center under table. Tully jumps up.
I've had enough of this. I'm going mad.
Bertram! Bertram!
Bertram be damned.
Holds his mouth instantly. John crosses to Tully.
I think you're very ungrateful. Just as everything's going so splendidly.
Splendidly. Is it? Do you think Mr. Trippett and the doctor are going to swallow this tale? I've lost my reputation, and I've lost my mustache.
Pamela rushes in and closes door.
Mr. Trippett would like to see you now. He's rather in a hurry. What will you do?
That's all right. Send Trippett in here in 2 seconds, and keep the doctor in there. And keep calm.
Pamela exits left.
Everything's going splendidly. Everything's going splendidly.
Taking wild leaps into the air. John to Tully.
Go on, get behind that screen.
Gets into chair and draws blanket round him. Tully going up to fireplace.
If ever I get out of this, I'll leave the neighborhood.
Kneels behind screen and fireplace.
Don't talk like that.
Mamie rushes on from door right.
Jack, I can't wait any longer. Where's the necklace?
John rises and crosses to Mamie.
It's all right. Only wait.
My darling, what have you been doing?
What?
That dreadful mustache.
They've been putting me under glass.
Pushes Mamie off downright. Tully groans.
Don't you groan. I am the patient now.
Sits in armchair again. Pamela rushes into center. Tully peeps round from screen.
John, the doctor says he must examine you before discussing the case with Mr. Trippett.
John, rising.
Good heavens! Can't they make up their minds? They must be a couple of weathercocks. All right. Send the doctor in. Wait till you hear Tully groan.
Mr. Tooley will be in the chair?
Yes. We're quite prepared. Wait till he groans, that's all.
Pamela exits left. To Tully.
Go on, get into that chair.
Arranging blanket.
The doctor's coming in.
Tully comes down to armchair. Pamela rushes in. Pamela, breathlessly.
John, Mr. Trippett and the doctor are both coming in together.
Both together?
John and Tully both rush for armchair.
Wait, I know. Say there's an escape of gas.
Electric light. Look.
Say the lease of the flat is up.
John, pushing Tully into chair.
Don't be a fool. Say I'm dead.
Doorbell heard off left. Pamela, up to window.
John, there's a colored man at the door.
A colored man? Oh, good heavens. It's the Rajah.
Tully rushes up to window right center with blankets on arm.
The Rajah?
Yes. Tell him I'm buried and won't be back for a week.
Mamie enters door right.
But who is the Rajah?
Just a friend of mine.
Excuse me? He's a friend of mine.
Yours.
Yes, a friend of mine, and I must have that necklace. Will you kindly give it to me, Mrs. Ayres?
This necklace? How dare you? It's mine.
Mamie and Pamela both quarrel violently about it and argue madly till fall of curtain. Tully goes to Mamie at the same time as John goes to Pamela. They both throw the men off. Tully has taken blanket from armchair. John is going to door left.
Not that way, John, not that way.
John and Tully meet center. Tully throws blanket over both of them, and they crawl out of window left. Doctor and Trippett enter together, talking. Doctor sees the two men crawling off. He draws Trippett's attention, and they both look on aghast. Curtain. End of Act 2. Act 3 of A Little Bit of Fluff by Walter W. Ellis. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Act 3. Scene: a room in Tully's flat. Lights out to open. A similar room in construction in every way to scene in Act 1, excepting that it is furnished differently. 2 French windows at back opening onto balcony door right, leading to hall and street. Door left leading to bedroom. It is twilight as the curtain rises. A letter and telegram lie unopened on table about left center, and a settee is placed well in view below door left. A plan of the scene will be found at the end of the play. Ursula, Tully's maid, enters right, switches on lights. Switch above door right. Lights go up. Ursula, in somber tones.
You can come in.
Enter Aunt Hannah. She is very tall and stout, old-fashioned, but a lady. Aunt Hannah, entering.
Thank you, thank you.
Goes to chair right of table left center.
Thank you.
Sits.
Oh, dear me, I'm glad to sit down. Phew, I only left the hospital this morning.
Ursula, standing center.
You don't say.
Yes, I was in a terrible bus accident about 3 weeks ago, and I had 3 of my ribs broken.
You don't say.
It was my first experience of a motor bus, too. They're most dangerous things. Aren't you afraid of them?
I ain't afraid of nothing.
Dear me, what courage! What courage!
Ursula, crossing to left, of table left center.
Take anything?
No, thank you. I've had my tea. And so my nephew's out?
Been out since lunch.
Didn't he say he expected me?
About 3 weeks ago he mentioned your name, but not since.
Yes, that was when I came up from Exeter. I was coming on to see him then when I was injured on the bus, and they took me straight away to the hospital.
You don't say.
Aunt Hannah, tapping walking stick on floor.
But I do say. But I sent him a telegram saying I was coming today.
Ursula, pointing to table.
Telegram.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Unopened?
Come after the master left.
Oh, dear, what a pity. But he'll be home shortly, I suppose, or doesn't he keep good, respectable hours?
Nothing to find fault with.
Has he any, lady friends?
Only one. Goodness.
I hope she's a good girl.
Noise off. Pamela, Mamie, John, and Tully continuing argument loudly off right, as at end of Act 2.
Oh, what's that?
People next door, I suppose.
Noise ceases. Aunt Hannah opening her cloak.
Dear me, it's close.
Removing your things?
Yes, I should like to.
Rising. Ursula goes to door left, opens door and holds door open.
Bedroom this way.
Aunt Hannah crossing to door.
How very convenient. And I find everyone in London so very kind and polite.
Ursula closing door almost on Aunt Hannah.
In there.
Noise off again.
Thank you. Thank you.
Exit Aunt Hannah door left. Ursula closes door, crosses up right.
Horrible neighbors. Horrible neighbors.
Exit Ursula door right. Tully appears in pajamas, peeping through curtains right, off center. He steals into room and runs down to chair left center, looks round room. John crawls on through window right of center with blanket over him, following Tully on.
Home at last, home at last.
It's all right.
Throws blanket on chair at back.
I've made a barricade with the geranium pots. Nobody could get over without making a terrible smash. We should be sure to hear them.
Good, then we're safe for the moment.
Groans loudly.
Don't make a scene. Don't make a scene.
Going up to window, Aunt Hannah enters and seeing Tully in pajamas, she gives a scream and goes off door left quickly. John and Tully both start and look round the room. John to Tully.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
I distinctly heard a woman's voice.
John approaches window gingerly.
Shh. Don't make a noise. I'm listening for the flower pots to fall.
What will happen if Mr. Trippett and the doctor come in and find us gone?
They dare not enter while the two women are arguing, perhaps fighting. I'm only thinking what a little cat Mammy was to come just when everything was going so splendidly.
Whatever induced you to run after a girl like that?
Is there anybody in this flat?
Only the maid.
Well, send her out.
She's just been out.
Never mind. Send her out 50 times if it'll only help us.
Tully groans.
Don't give way. Don't give way. I've got an idea. I'm going to cut the electric wires of the whole block of flats. I think I know where they run. Now you go and get her out of the house. Don't lose a moment. Please go, Bertram.
Tully groans and exits door right. John calling after him.
It isn't often I ask you to do anything.
John thinks. He has a brilliant idea. Takes out his penknife and goes to wall it back. Feels a long wall.
No, that's not it.
Looks at wall below door left.
Ah, that looks more like it. Yes.
Plunges his knife into wall. A jet of soda water comes out through rubber tube fixed in flat below door. The spout of a soda siphon is pushed in other end of rubber tube outside and at the queue.
Got it. Got it.
The water is squirted through.
Oh, damn! Confound!
John immediately places his hand over tube and with his handkerchief stops the flow of water. Siphon is removed and placed on floor ready for next squirt of water.
Help! Help! Help!
Heard off. Tully dashes on door right and slamming door holds onto handle as if besieged.
What's up? What's the matter with you?
Tully, trembling all over.
The maid doesn't recognize me without a mustache. She thinks I'm a burglar, and she's chasing me with a poker.
Chasing you?
Yes, and if this woman gets in, she'll brain us both. Come and help, for heaven's sake.
I can't let go here.
Why not?
I thought if I could cut the main electric cable and put out the lights next door, that the doctor and Trippett would be compelled to leave the flat.
Good, go on, cut the cable.
I have tried, and I've cut the water pipe instead. It'll flood the place.
Tully, still holding on to door.
Oh, I'd do anything to get out of this.
For heaven's sake, don't be so selfish. Just when everything's going so splendidly.
Still holding on to water pipe. Aunt Hannah opens door left and just enters. Sees John and Tully and with a cry exits hurriedly. John and Tully both turn on each other.
Don't do it! Don't do it!
I didn't do anything. If you shout like that, I shall have a fit in a moment.
Well, we don't want to stand here all night.
Can you reach that key out of the other door?
I've told you I can't let go here.
If this woman gets in, our lives won't be worth having.
Whatever made you engage such a brute?
I can't live here alone without protection.
What's her name?
Ursula.
Ursula. Give her a month's notice.
No, I don't want to lose her.
Women are no use unless they are mastered.
I've always heard that it was best to avoid women who are mastered.
Mastered, not mustard. And take off those pajamas.
And I ought to be playing the flute tonight down at the mission.
Hang your mission. I'm trying to think what I can do here. Lend me your handkerchief. I'll plug it up with mine and then tie it up.
Tully, waving his handkerchief.
Catch! Catch!
How can I catch from here?
Tully runs across with handkerchief, his pajama trousers round his ankles. Gives handkerchief to John. Then sits chair center.
You'll split those pajamas.
Tully, removing pajamas.
This is the most awful afternoon I've ever had in my life. I shall never be the same man again.
John ties up tube with handkerchief.
There, that'll hold, I think. Now, I'll go and cover your retreat.
Crosses to right. Tully, picking up telegram from table left center.
Oh, here's a telegram. Telegrams always make me feel so nervous.
Opens it and reads.
It's from Aunt Hannah. She's coming up today. I've been expecting her for the last 3 weeks. I am the only relation she has, and in order to avoid the death duties, she's going to make a deed of gift to me amounting to several £1,000s.
Several £1,000? Now that is mean. Look at the trouble you've put me to. You might have lent me the money and so saved me a fortnight's illness.
Tully rises.
Will you accept the £500 from me?
I suppose I must.
That is good of you.
Not at all. You have such a winning way with you. One can't help doing as you wish.
Tully smiles broadly.
That's taken a great load off of my mind. The old lady is very generous. Directly she arrives, we must both be very nice to her.
Trust me for that. And I can be nice when I like.
I know you can. But what about the bus company?
Oh, yes. I'll get you to go back and say I withdraw my claim.
Yes, I'd love to do that.
Picking up letter from table left center.
I'll buy Mammy a new necklace and tell Pam the whole truth. That Mammy is not your wife, but your little bit of fluff named Agnes.
No, I draw the line there. Mommy's your Fluff. You must shoulder that responsibility.
But you're a single man. It doesn't matter about you.
Oh, yes, it does. I've got to think of my reputation down at the mission.
Oh, hang your mission.
Oh, dear.
Becomes very serious as he reads letter.
What's up?
It's a letter from the motor bus company.
Motor bus company?
They're going to sue me.
Sue you? What for?
The fat woman who had 3 ribs broken says that I am liable. That my fall on her was premeditated and nothing to do with the accident. Oh, and listen to this.
Reading.
Our representative will have much pleasure in calling upon you this evening at 7 o'clock.
It's gone 7 now.
They're sending someone here tonight?
Yes. Who will they send? Either Trippett or the doctor. They are both in the neighborhood.
Then they may be here at any moment.
But this is a simple matter now you've got the necessary money coming in.
But which one will they send? Because it depends on that who you are and who I am.
Well, I'll get you to creep back and tell Pam that I withdraw my claim. Then, if the doctor calls, you must get back in time to see him. And if Trippett calls, I'll see Trippett.
But that won't help me out. If they are going to sue me, possibly for hundreds, I'm not going to lend you this money unless I can see a clean sheet for myself. You got me into this mess. You must get me out of it.
Sits center and groans.
You are ungrateful. After all I've done for you. Are you going to lend me the £500 or are you not?
Certainly, but I didn't fall on top of this fat woman, and I'm not going to be made to pay. You had the fun. You ought to suffer.
John crosses to left and rings bell. Tully, alarmed.
What are you going to do?
Do as you wish. I'm going to get you out of this trouble. I've rung for Ursula.
Ursula!
Ursula enters right, holding poker at her side. Tully, business of trying to hide his lip. John crosses to door right.
Oh, good evening, Ursula.
In his best manner. Ursula abruptly.
Evening.
We want you to do us a favor, if you will.
A favor?
We want you to lend us some ladies' clothes, just for an hour or so.
What sort of clothes?
Oh, nothing. White. Nothing underhand, just super clothes, and if you do this, your master will be very much obliged to you, and he'll raise your wages.
Business of Tully aghast. John motioning to him to keep quiet.
Elsie.
Exit Ursula door right. Tully rises and comes down center.
John, what are you going to do?
I think you will acknowledge this is an inspiration. These bus people think they are going to corner us. I can see their move, but you and I are far too smart for them.
Tully, in doubt.
Are we?
It has only just struck me, but you are the living image of the fat old lady in the bus.
Tully, offended.
Oh, John.
Without the fat, of course. If you get into these clothes and pad yourself all round, no one will know the difference.
No, I couldn't do that. It's illegal.
I'm doing this to get you out of the pickle. I'm not doing it for my own sake. Please bear that in mind.
But what good will it do?
If the doctor or Trippett calls here, I shall say that I am Tully, that is, Tully's brother, that I have had an interview with the lady in the bus accident, and she is strongly of opinion that the bus company is liable.
But they'll dispute it at once.
Naturally. Then we are prepared. I shall just bring you into the room dressed as the lady, with nothing to do but to bear out my statement.
No, I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it.
Turns left.
Bertram, I have an idea. An idea that wouldn't occur to one man in a million.
Enter Ursula with bundle of clothes. Crosses to John.
And you want to ignore it? Bertram, Bertram!
Clothes.
Gives clothes to John and exits door right. John takes clothes.
Thank you, Ursula, thank you.
Gives clothes to Tully.
The very thing. But you'll want a fearful lot of padding. You're so thin.
He gathers up cushions from couch and armchair and pushes them into Tully's arms.
Here we are. Top hole. Beautiful padding.
But John, what about a bodice? I must have a bodice.
What do you want a bodice for?
For all this part.
Pointing to chest.
I'll go and get a bodice off Ursula. Meanwhile, you go into the bedroom and get into these clothes as quickly as you can. Shave your top lip clean. Don't forget the cushions. Arrange them diplomatically, you know. Come out and go in and all that sort of thing, and I'll go and get the bodice.
John exits door right.
I don't know where a woman comes out and goes in.
Stands looking round hopelessly, then goes to door left. Opens door and is about to enter bedroom. Aunt Hannah screams off. Tully shuts door quickly, rushes up to window left. Crash of falling flower pots heard off right. Tully drops clothes, etc., and rushes to door right. Mamie enters windows right center, breathless and excited.
Oh, there you are, Bertie. Where's Jack? Where is he?
Tully, coming center.
Somewhere in the house.
Is there anyone else in the house besides Jack?
Only the maid and Bogey.
Bogey? Who's Bogey?
My little dog.
Do you know that Mrs. Ayres still thinks I am your wife?
Tully wriggles and nods.
Yes, I'm so sorry.
What?
I mean delighted.
Wriggles again.
Oh, don't wriggle. Things are far too serious for wriggling. You heard about the necklace that was lent to me by my friend the Rajah?
Yes, I have heard about it.
Then I want you, as my husband, to take the matter into your hands and tell Mrs. Ayres that unless the necklace is returned to me at once, you will take proceedings.
Oh, I couldn't do that. I'll call John.
Going to door right. Mamie pulling Tully back.
No, don't call John. It's only natural, if you are supposed to be my husband, that you should help me in this matter. And if you don't, you'll get it in the neck, right where the chicken got the X.
On the verge of tears, she crosses and sits center, searching in her handbag for letter.
Just read this letter. It's from the Rajah. I've never had such things said to me in my life.
Tully, patting back of chair.
Don't cry, child, don't cry.
Where did I put it? In my bag? No.
Rising.
I remember. I put it in my dress for safety.
Oh.
Would you mind unhooking my dress at the back, please?
Tully, very embarrassed.
Really, I'm a single man.
Well, these are single hooks.
Tully crosses to door right.
I'll call John.
Please don't call John.
Tully calling through door and whistling.
I must have someone in the room. Bogey, Bogey, Bogey.
Bertram, come here.
Bertram going towards her.
I want to show you something very important.
Tully backing away from her.
I'll take your word for it.
It's the Rajah's letter. Just the top 2 hooks, please, as quickly as you can.
Approaching Tully with her shoulder towards him.
Really, I don't understand. I'm quite a novice.
Mamie, annoyed.
You don't want me to tear the thing off?
Tully, advancing timidly.
For heaven's sake, don't do that.
Well, pull up your socks, Bertie, and undo the top one.
Tully pulls up his socks.
What are you doing?
Pulling my socks up.
Mamie, sidling up to him.
Go on, the top one.
Tully unfastens the top hook.
Ah, that's better.
Trying to get letter from bodice.
Now the next one.
No, no more.
Mamie, sweetly.
Now the next one.
Tully, shaking head decisively.
No more.
Do, please. Bertie, dear. Bertie, darling. Bertie, sweetheart.
Tully smiles broadly and giggles.
Well, just this one. No more after that.
No, no more after that.
Tully giggles.
They are nice little hooks. Shall I go any further?
No, not at present.
Secures letter.
I've got it. Just read that.
Crash of flower pots off right.
It's the Rajah.
Very frightened.
No, more flower pots.
Going up to window right.
More creepers.
In a loud whisper.
It's Mrs. Ayers.
I'll hide here and listen. Come and hide me, Bertie.
Mamie crouches down at foot of table left center behind Tully. Pamela enters window right. Pamela coming down center.
Oh, Mr. Tooley, where is John?
He's very busy with my maid.
With your maid?
Yes, he's trying to get some clothes off her.
Pamela, annoyed.
What?
Trying to borrow some clothes, I should say.
John enters from door right, sees Pamela, and exits hurriedly. Mamie tickles Tully's legs.
Well, someone must come at once. Mr. Trippett refuses to leave the flat until he has seen John, and the doctor is coming round your door.
Tully, crossing to right towards Pamela.
But John is going to withdraw his claim against the company, and I'm going to tell Mr. Trippett so.
Then please come at once.
Tully and Pamela go up.
Stop. Before you go, I'd like you to ask Mrs. Ayres to give me back my necklace.
Below table left center standing.
I've already told you, Mrs. Tooley, that this necklace does not belong to you.
To Tully.
And please ask your wife to apologize.
Goes down right. Tully crosses to Mamie.
Miss Scott, Miss Fluff.
Bangs hand on table and adopts an authoritative tone.
My wife, will you apologize?
Mamie rounds sharply to Tully.
Certainly not.
Tully collapses in chair.
You know as well as I do that that necklace does not belong to Mrs. Ayres. Please ask her to return it to me.
Tully crosses to Pamela.
Mrs. Ayres, will you please return the necklace to Mrs. Wife?
I shall do nothing in the matter until I've seen John.
Tully crosses to Mamie.
She will do nothing in the matter.
Mamie pushing Tully upstage.
Out of my way!
Tully, watching his opportunity, works up to window, picks up clothes and cushions, and steals out by window right. Mamie crosses to Pamela.
Now, Mrs. Ayres, that necklace was lent to me, and its real owner is waiting at the door of your flat. If I don't take it back to him at once, you'll have the police on your track. Am I to take it back or not?
Pamela hesitates.
You refuse? You refuse?
Pamela hands necklace to Mamie.
Oh, very well. Take it to him.
Crosses to writing desk up left.
I don't want a vulgar scene over a paltry 30-shilling necklace.
Sits.
30 shillings? That shows how much you know, and also that this necklace cannot possibly be your property. I'm sorry you made such a mistake.
Going up to window right.
30 shillings? That's really good. I must tell the Rajah that.
Exit Mamie window right, laughing loudly. Pamela rushes to door left, opens it.
John! John!
Aunt Hannah screams. Pamela closes door, rushes across to door right. Ursula enters door right, holding poker in hand, and looking very formidable, she advances in a threatening manner. Pamela starts with a little cry at sight of Ursula and backs up to window right, trembling with fear.
What are you doing here? What are you doing here?
I beg your pardon. I was looking for my husband.
Well, he's not here. He's not here.
No, I'm sure he wouldn't be.
Exit window right, calling, John! John! Ursula opens door right and beckons.
It's all right. You can come in now, little man. All gone.
John, entering.
Thank you, Ursula, thank you.
John is carrying a bodice. Ursula gives John the glad eye and exits with a little backward kick of the leg. John crosses to door left, opens it and throws bodice into bedroom.
Here you are. It's the best she's got.
Aunt Hannah screams off.
Eh? What's that? Speak up, I can't hear.
Crossing to door right. Aunt Hannah enters. John turns and bursts into laughter, mistaking Aunt Hannah for Tully in disguise.
You dare not attack a woman, even if you are a burglar.
With fear and anger.
Excellent. Oh, splendid. The very thing. I shouldn't have known you.
I want to leave this house.
You are the living image of the fat old woman in the bus.
I am the lady who was in the bus, sir, and I know you. I know you now. You were the coward who, to save his own skin, so cruelly tried to crush me.
Good, good. If you only keep it up like that, you'll be splendid.
I tell you, sir, I had 3 of my ribs broken.
Ribs? Oh, you don't look as if you had any ribs. You are all cushions.
Digging Aunt Hannah in the ribs. Aunt Hannah screams.
Oh! Oh!
Up to table.
Oh, my poor side. Oh, my poor heart.
Oh, my poor side. Oh, my poor heart. Oh, don't make me laugh. You've got the funniest mug I've ever seen. And you do go out and come in a lot. More come in than go out.
I'm going to leave this house, sir, and if you attempt to stop me, I'll call for the police.
Tries to pass John. He stops her.
If you jump about like that, your clothes will fall off.
Ouch! Ouch!
Turns up stage.
Oh, you ought to see your back view.
How dare you! How dare you!
Bell rings off right. John, over to Aunt Hannah.
Hark, that may be our man. Pull yourself together.
Don't you touch me?
Stop it, you idiot. Don't forget, if that's the doctor, you're here to discuss the bus accident with me. Now go into that bedroom and don't come out till I call you.
I wish to leave this house.
John opens door left and is pushing Aunt Hannah off gradually.
Come on, don't play the giddy ox.
Pushes her into bedroom.
Kennel, kennel.
Don't you touch me. How dare you? Oh! Oh!
Exit. John bangs the door after her. Ursula enters door right.
What is it? What is it?
Dr. Bigland to see the master.
Dr. Bigland. Good. Show him in.
Exit Ursula door right.
Who am I? I know. I'm Tully. No, I'm not. I'm Tully's brother. Tully's twin brother.
Stands center, braces himself up, and removes mustache. Ursula enters announcing.
Dr. Bigland.
Doctor enters. Ursula exits.
Yes, I expected something of this kind.
John reserves mock dignity.
I haven't the pleasure of your acquaintance.
You are Mr. Tully.
Tully is my name.
Hadn't I the pleasure of meeting you a short while ago next door?
No, that was my brother.
Your brother? Good heavens, what a likeness!
Yes, we're often mistaken for each other. If the true facts of the case were known, I believe we were very nearly twins.
Remarkable! I apologize.
Not at all. But didn't my brother tell you it was my brother? I mean, didn't he tell you it was me?
He said it was his brother who was in the motor bus accident.
Quite correct.
The object of my visit is in reference to that matter.
Will you take a seat?
I thank you.
Sits by table left center.
Now, as regards yourself. At the time of the accident, there was a lady in the bus who had 3 ribs broken, and we understand that this was caused by your fall on top of the lady.
Yes, but I make no claim against the lady.
No, but the lady wishes to make a claim against you.
I don't think so. The lady herself is here now, and quite ready to deny your allegations against me.
Goes to door left. Doctor rises, places hat on chair he has been sitting on, and goes right.
You can come in.
Aunt Hannah enters with timid little jerks. Aside to Aunt Hannah.
It's the doctor.
Aunt Hannah, tearfully.
Oh, it's Dr. Bigland.
Crosses to Doctor. John rubs hands with great satisfaction.
Now, my dear lady, calm yourself. Remember what I told you. You must keep calm.
You see, the poor woman's nerves are shattered, and all through riding in your beastly buses.
Signals to Aunt Hannah to be quiet, to which she pays no heed. Doctor to Aunt Hannah.
You know this gentleman who was in the bus accident with you?
Yes, and I live in fear of him.
That's quite all right. There's nothing to be frightened of. Now sit down. Sit down and compose yourself.
Aunt Hannah backs up to chair center, is about to sit on Doctor's hat. Doctor rushes up and snatches hat away.
Ah! Not on my hat!
Places hat on table down right. Aunt Hannah jumps up on Doctor's shout, throws arms round John's neck. John pushes her into chair center.
Oh, dear, dear, dear. Oh!
Now I understand you wish to thrash out this matter of the accident.
Taking notebook from pocket. John crosses to Doctor.
Yes, we are both desirous that it should be cleared up, aren't we?
Doctor, I am.
John looks over Doctor's shoulder and watches him writing.
Will you begin?
No, I will not begin. I will hear what the lady has to say, and make my report.
Good.
Signaling to Aunt Hannah.
Well, madam, the doctor and I have been discussing the matter, and he is under the impression that you think that I am to blame for the injury you have suffered. Now, I want you to prove to him that such is not the case.
But it is the case.
John starts.
The doctor is quite right.
Doctor makes notes. John business of shaking his head at Aunt Hannah and signaling.
I say, the doctor thinks that I was to blame, and I want you to deny this scandalous accusation.
Signals.
I can't deny it.
But you don't understand.
I beg to state that I do understand.
Aunt Hannah holds finger up. John smacks her hand. John, frowning and signaling.
Let me explain. A short while ago, when you and I were discussing this matter, you agreed with me that the bus company and they alone were responsible for your injuries.
I did not agree with you in any way. It's a wicked falsehood.
Exactly as I thought.
John, to Aunt Hannah.
You silly fool. Oh, I beg your pardon. Think. Didn't you distinctly say you were going to sue the bus company?
Nodding yes to Aunt Hannah. Aunt Hannah, rising and crossing to couch left.
I don't remember discussing the matter with you at all, sir.
Then the accident must have affected your memory.
Aside to Aunt Hannah.
You half-witted idiot, you'll spoil everything.
And abuse will certainly not make me alter my decision.
Doctor, crossing center.
Now, my dear lady, you are firmly of the opinion that the injury you sustained was due to the premeditated action of this gentleman when riding on one of the company's vehicles.
That is my case exactly.
Doctor makes notes. John frantic.
Very well. And the amount of damages you claim?
I claim.
John threatens her with his fist.
I claim. I
claim. What do you claim?
I claim.
John threatens her.
£500.
£500.
Doctor writes in book. John, in a fury, is threatening to strike Aunt Hannah. Doctor turns and catches him. They both bow. Doctor writes in book again. John bangs back of couch. Aunt Hannah starts with a shriek. Doctor starts also.
Now, sir, are you prepared in any way to accept this liability?
John, right up to Doctor, furiously.
No, most certainly not.
Doctor, closing book and crossing right.
Then there's nothing more to be said.
John, crossing to Doctor.
Oh, yes, there is. I'm a little smarter than you imagine, and I can tell you something. That isn't a woman you've been talking to. That's a man.
Aunt Hannah, very indignant. Doctor laughs.
Oh, you can laugh, but I can prove it.
Aunt Hannah screams, very nervous.
You can do what, sir?
Prove it.
Not in my presence, you don't.
Doctor exits hurriedly. John rushes to door right and with his back against it glares at Aunt Hannah. Aunt Hannah, rising in terror.
Don't you look at me like that, sir. Don't you look at me like that.
Take off those pads.
Pads?
Take off those pads.
I don't wear pads.
John, advancing on Aunt Hannah.
You cheat. You dirty little turncoat. To make a fool of me like that.
Aunt Hannah, jumping round table left center to right.
Don't you touch me, sir. Don't you touch me.
Take off those rags or I'll thrash you.
Grabs at her skirt, which he tears off, leaving Aunt Hannah in a very pronounced petticoat. John pushes Aunt Hannah till she falls onto couch down left. Enter Pamela from window right center.
John! I'm surprised at you, treating a woman like that.
Crosses to Aunt Hannah, kneeling by her.
A woman?
Gazes into Aunt Hannah's face.
Oh, good Lord. It's a woman.
Sinks into chair right of table left center.
Yes, a woman. There, calm yourself.
To John.
Mr. Tooley told me you were trying to get clothes off someone.
Where is Tully?
I left him in our flat. He was telling Mr. Trippett that you withdraw your claim. John, she's fainted.
Rises, looks round.
Get some water, John.
Pamela goes up behind table left center looking for water.
I haven't the faintest idea where to get water. I don't know this beastly flat.
Suddenly thinks of water spout.
Ah, I know. Stand back. Pam, stand back.
Gets hold of tube water spout. John takes the plugged handkerchief from wall and the water pipe squirts directly onto Aunt Hannah's face. John plugs the pipe again and crosses to Aunt Hannah, assisting her to rise. Aunt Hannah, when water falls on her, screams and makes movement with arms as if swimming.
Why, who are you?
I'm Mr. Tully's aunt.
Mr. Tully's aunt?
Yes, I'm Aunt Hannah.
Aunt Hannah! Go and look after her, Pam.
Pamela picks up Aunt Hannah's skirt and assists Aunt Hannah off door left. Aunt Hannah muttering until off. Exit Aunt Hannah and Pamela down left. John, dazed and gazing at door.
Another 500 gone.
Tully, off window right center.
Everything's going splendidly. Everything's going splendidly.
Tully enters window right center, comes right down center, and faces audience. He is dressed in woman's clothes, which are much too big for him, and is padded out with the cushions. John looks up, sees Tully.
Take it away, take it away. You're too late.
Don't I look all right?
All right. You look more like a goat than a woman.
I thought I looked like a little bit of Fluff. What's happened?
Turns to John.
Do you realize that the stout lady in the bus accident was your aunt?
Tully, going up to John.
The fat woman was Aunt Hannah? How do you know this? How do you know this?
Because she is here now, in your bedroom.
Really, you've seen her?
John nods.
Have you been very nice to the old lady?
Nice? You should have seen what I did to her.
Oh, it's not as bad as all that, Shirley.
Enter Pamela. Tully picks up skirts and dashes off door right. Pamela, laughing.
What's that?
John, crossing to Pamela.
That's Tully. I think he's gone mad.
Pamela, crossing right.
And so has Mrs. Tooley. Do you know she swore the pearl necklace you gave to me belonged to her?
Did she really?
Yes, I can't help laughing. I gave it to her.
John, starting.
You gave her the necklace?
Pamela, laughing.
Yes, I certainly didn't want a scene with a woman like that.
John goes mad with delight, dances down left.
You gave it to her! You gave it to her! Then the Rajas got it back again. The Rajas got it back again.
Don't give way, John.
I must give way.
Still dancing.
But you don't know what I gave her. I didn't give her the real necklace.
John stops dancing.
I was wearing the imitation, one that cost 30 shillings.
John, his spirits down to 0.
You gave her the imitation one?
Yes.
Are you sure?
Yes, I have the real one here. It has a crown on the clasp.
Shows necklace.
See?
She realizes her mistake.
John! I've given her the real one. I remember now. I changed it at Mother's. I did change it. John, I've given her the real necklace.
Bursts into tears and sits right center. John dances all round the room with joy, then over to Pamela.
There, dear, don't go mad. It can't be helped. We all make mistakes.
Something must be done. This will kill Mother.
We must chance that.
Pamela, starting up.
Couldn't Mr. Tooley get the necklace back for me?
No, impossible.
Impossible? Why?
John takes Pamela's arm confidentially.
I'll tell you a secret, Pam. Tully's a wrong'un.
A wrong-un?
Yes, he's a dark horse. And I'll tell you something else. That isn't Mrs. Tully. That's Tully's little weakness. He calls her Agnes, and that's the type of man Mr. Tully is.
Pamela, with a knowing nod of the head.
I had my suspicions. Then perhaps there's time for me to catch her before she finds the Rajah.
She rushes off windows right center.
Come back, Pam, come back.
Exit Pamela. Enter Aunt Hannah door left, without her hat.
Where is my nephew, sir? Where is my nephew?
Ah, Aunt Hannah. He's afraid to meet you until you forgive me for all I've done. There's been a most absurd mistake caused by your likeness to Bertram. If you'll only let me explain.
Really, I don't think it matters.
Looking at her wet clothes.
But you've no idea what a wonderful likeness there is. Except, of course, you look the younger.
Oh, no, I don't.
Coyly.
Oh, yes, you do.
Oh, no, I don't.
Then all is forgiven.
Why, of course.
Tully runs on from door right, sees Aunt Hannah.
Aunt Hannah!
Over to her, kisses her.
Bertie, my boy, my boy!
Pamela enters from window's right center.
John, it's too late. The Rajah's gone and taken the necklace with him.
Thank heaven. And I'll save up your money and buy you another. And that's the truth.
But you always do tell me the truth, John.
But in future I'm going to tell you better truth. And now we can go home in safety.
Pamela and John going up to window right center.
Oh, Bertram, where are you going?
I'm going to take Auntie down to the mission.
Then good night.
Exit Pamela and John, window right center.
Bertie, I'll just go and put my bonnet on.
Exit Aunt Hannah, door left. Mamie puts head round, door right.
Bertie!
Oh!
Mamie enters and over to Tully.
I've got rid of the Rajah. Will you take me out to supper?
Certainly not.
Don't be unkind.
I couldn't dream of such a thing.
Oh, Bertie, why not?
I've promised to take Auntie down to the mission.
Tell Auntie you're going on a much nicer mission. You will come. Say yes, Bertie, Bertie.
Tully, suddenly making up his mind to take the plunge.
Oh, Fluffy.
Tully kisses Mamie excitedly. He moves head quickly to and from Mamie's cheek, more like pecks than kisses. Ursula enters from door right, Aunt Hannah from door left, Pamela and John from window's right center. All enter simultaneously, and seeing Tully kissing Mamie, they exit simultaneously with varied exclamations and expressions. Curtain. End of Act 3. End of A Little Bit of Fluff by Walter W. Ellis.